ready. Let's go ahead and just shift over real quick. Yes, sir. We about to get into it. Oh yeah, this is about to get on somebody's nerves. Who knows? Who knows? All right, I just unmuted the Discord audio. Testing. Jaden, say something.
Hello.
You want to share your screen, Jaden?
Yes, I can share my screen as well.
Hello, everybody. I am your host, the Scrub Lord. A friend of mine, a dear friend, the Converter, who is also known as Aloud, so I'll put a link to his channel once this video stops recording. But we about to start getting into this remarriage, divorce, polygamy, because I know the church's opinion has been one man, one wife, but we about to challenge that. So let's get started. Jaden, I'm gonna get into your stream real quick.
Okay. And for the stream, we're kind of going to be all over the place. This video in particular isn't like a set video for us to like show you guys. Like we have like some ready for all. It's really like we're doing this really. We're having a full conversation about this, and we just want to record all the conversations. Okay. So one thing that I was reading that this guy was saying, God himself never calls out or condemns any man's polygamy. In fact, states that Abimelech acted in integrity of heart when seeking to add an additional wife. Mm-hmm. And then it makes it obvious to me that Christian traditions are misinterpreting God's actual opinion on this matter. That's all I was trying to find out. I never heard of Abimelech before. I was trying to figure out who. So he said it was in Genesis chapter 20.
Oh yeah, what were we talking about right before this started? It just slipped my mind.
We were talking about elders in the church, if they can have multiple wives.
Right, you was asking me about Moses.
Yeah, Moses walked in.
All right, if Moses just casually came back from the dead, off with your head.
And Abraham, and David, and Caleb.
Huh, so restate your question.
So if Abraham, those are the two, three, Moses, Abraham, and David, walk into your church, all right, with all their wives, would you say that the father of our faith, the king of Israel, a conqueror, one of the spiritual man after God's own heart, would you say that they would be disqualified, like Paul's disqualifying the patriarchs of the Old Testament of being an elder of a congregation?
I think it makes it clear, right? Because they would be liable to the new covenant that Jesus established, like post salvation coming into the world. So they are great men of knowledge, but I'm gonna hold my position to say they oh my god, it sounds horrible. They'll have to give up all their wives and choose one if they want to stand in office.
Like when Paul was writing Timothy, and he's writing Corinthians, you think that would we say that he's discrediting the patriarchs of old of being an elder or some type of leadership in a congregation just because they have multiple wives? And why? And if he does, why would he?
That's a good question. I mean, I guess personally, not scratch that. We might just we are too far in. Well, given that Jesus has the one wife of the church, I assume it's in reference to that, which how the church is one singular entity, even though you're many members. like we're still just one singular personhood. I would assume that would like that would apply to them. Just as an example.
Right. But even then with Jesus, Jesus even refers to his marriage to be even with five virgins as well. So even when Jesus described himself as God being married to the people, it's even seen as there's multiple marriages going on.
Mm, I don't know. Like,
I mean, because we still have Judah, because Judah is still married to God. They're not divorced,
yeah.
and God is still bringing in Revelation. God's bringing back Israel, and Israel's gonna be remarried back to God. So then we end it with God at minimum, or actually it will still be because we're counted in with Israel
Mm.
as his believers. So God is still ending it with two wives,
But
Israel and Judah.
wouldn't we not all be one as like specifically John 17? You know how Jesus says he wills that we all be one as he and his Father are one. Wouldn't we still be considered as just one of the believers?
Um, you can consider it like the way it seems like, yeah, you can call it like one body, but there's still multiple members. But in this case, like kind of even with Israel and Judah, they're all believers. Like this is before they left Egypt, right? So before anything happened, as far as them harloting around,
Mm.
God still saw them as two different entities, two different believers, two different people that were following him. He still saw them as separate.
Go ahead and bring up the scriptural
Yeah.
reference, Jaden, because I got your I got your part of the live stream up. So let's see.
Okay. So I think one of the first things we can look at
Mhm.
is does Paul say that elders or bishops can't have multiple wives, particularly?
Yeah, why not? Let's see. I'm gonna look it up. Qualifications real quick.
Get on
Qualification.
that blue letter.
Getting a whole bunch of buzz on my phone randomly. One is in yeah.
God
What
himself never calls out.
was that? First Timothy
I'd be like,
3. Now I think about it. Is Titus? Well,
um,
hold on. We should have prepared this, but that's all right. That's all right. We're about to go through this one at a time. It's gonna be a long live stream. Well, probably
all
not too
right.
long.
I know it's gonna be long
Oh my god. How long are you trying to go for, Jaden?
until we uncover the truth. Now we're starting out with polygamy, but it's not even like I already kind of have that. I want to really get into the divorce and remarriage. That's where I'm trying to figure out some stuff.
All right, the bishop one is First Timothy chapter 3. I'm looking at it starts at verse 2. A bishop must be blameless, the husband of one wife, vigilant, sober, of good behavior, given to hospitality, apt to teach, competent. And of course, it goes into not much wine, not a striker, not greedy, filthy lucre.
Uh,
I need to look what lucre
So
looks like. Go ahead.
now, a better for that word for that Greek word where he says the husband of one wife. Now, there's multiple different words of how that's translated in the Greek. A lot of times it can mean first,
Mm.
a. Um, those are those are two that's used a lot. Are you on Blue Letter? Are you able to look at? Oh, are you able to look at how many like all the words how that Greek word is translated? If you go into Blue Letter.
I'm about to try. I'm going to test it out right now. Okay, so all right, I'm on Blue Letter. Real quick. Let's see. I ain't even feel like how do you read this? Let me see. Am I able to click on these? How do you? I have never used Blue Letter before. I usually stick to Bible Hub or Interlinear, but
Share your screen.
I can't really share it while I'm streaming, Jaden. I mean, I
Yeah, you
can
can.
try. Nope, that just tried to turn on my camera. Well, let me try. Let me share my screen. Did it work? Real quick. All right. All right, testing. Can y'all see anything?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I got this. I got a stream on Discord and a stream on my YouTube. All
Okay.
right.
You're using Blue Letter. Now you should be able to click. You want to. We want to look up the Bible verse. So you want to look up First Timothy, and where it says 1.
You said First Timothy, what, chapter 3, like the exact verse?
Yeah, where it says 1 particularly.
All right. So how do I click on this now?
Uh-huh.
All right.
Yeah. That's what we want to look at now. Go down. So the one. Now click where it says G1520. Now it's gonna bring us to the next page. It's gonna show us that word heist. Now
Ice.
it's gonna show us. Now down there, it's gonna show us how many times that use a, other, some, hence a primal numeral 1, main, other, some. So the reason why that the translators in this case put 1 is because remember, monogamy entered this where monogamy came from. It came from Gaico Rome around 500 BC, and the reason why monogamy came into place is because it was good for the state. Because of the state, they were able to take away. Because one of the things that in a polygamous household, when you have many wives, like think about this: the nation of Israel, when Jacob had 4 wives, and within 45 years, 70 sons were born. It consisted of either 70 sons or 70 people within 45 years. Think about that. There were 70 people already. So imagine you being the father, and within 45 years, you have 70 descendants. Imagine how much wealth and power that you would have, and that you can have as a household and as like an army that you can bring as a house.
That's some big
So
influence,
Rome,
man.
big. You have lots of influence. That's a big family. Like that's like the Rockefellers now. Like you can be big like that. So Rome, it was good. Monogamy was being pushed in Rome because it was good for the state, and they were taking away that stuff like that from men. So when translators, a lot of times the reason why we're going back into the Greek is because a lot of times when people translate this, they can translate it with a monogamy glasses, like what a monogamy filter, and say, well, this must mean that. But one thing that we need to think about is, first of all, Paul was Paul. What was Paul? He was what's that word? He was a Pharisee. But what was that one that he was? Canhedron. It's like that he was from. But looking at it from Paul's perspective, who knows the Old Testament, he knows the forefathers, the forefathers of faith, the giver of the law, the father of our faith, King David, King of Israel, who led Israel. Looking at Moses, who led Israel, Abraham, who Israel was born out of. They leading Israel.
Mm-hmm.
You really think that Paul is saying that those men do not even qualify to even be an elder of anything, to even run anything?
It's tricky because like the way I see it, it's like that is the old, which is the shadow of the new. And I mean, like, I don't think it's necessarily that he's looking at them in mind when creating it. I think it's more so. I could be wrong on this. I think it's more so just raising the bar. Like how Jesus came on the scene with the Pharisees, was representation of those who kept the law, right? And he's like, oh, these things you should have done, but these things you left undone. And he looked at his believers and said, what? Your righteousness must exceed even the Pharisees. So it's like, I mean, I could be wrong because I don't think it's necessarily just disqualifying them on purpose. I think it's more so. Let me get something off my computer. Um, I could be wrong, but raising the bar, like the highest standard, it seems to be a monogamous relationship, as an example unto the faith.
A monogamous relationship would be raising the bar.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's
So
that's that's
why doesn't God or Jesus even they don't even qualify for that then?
How many wives does Jesus have? That's a good question. How many wives does he have?
Well, we know that God has two. One is coming back to him, and Jesus particularly describes him and the church. Or was it the church? I'm trying to remember what you was making this analogy for.
You know what,
Oh,
Jaden?
it was just for.
Give me scripture. Where is the scriptures? You saying a lot of talk. Where are you getting
No,
this information?
everybody knows that everybody knows the parable of the 10 virgins is that Jesus refers to himself as the bridegroom, going for the 10 virgins. Well, obviously 5 of them were not ready, but that marrying 5 virgins. So you would think that if monogamy would be raising the bar, right? That's the highest standard, and polygamy is almost like this outdated, most lower form, like kind of not really the way things are supposed to be. You see Jesus describing himself as a man with multiple brides, multiple marriages, 5 of them that he gets married to in the parable.
Okay, I got a question, Jaden. What happens? Cause like the thought just occurred to me. We were just bouncing off a dialogue. How does Matthew verse 22 and of chapter 22 of verse 30 fit into all this?
Well, open it up. The Pharisees were asking Jesus a question. They were trying to trap him, and they're
Mm-hmm.
asking him. So open up the full chapter.
Okay, I got you. I got you.
I'll be brief.
Cause that's it. Like, I'm like,
You
that
get
sounds interesting, but I'm like, wait a minute. Didn't Jesus say that we're like that we're not married like, as the believers? So every believer, like though we're in a likeness
we're
marriage,
not we're
has
not going to be given
enjoyment.
a marriage. We're not going to be given a marriage because we're already going to be married to the bridegroom.
Interesting, interesting. Let me
Because
see.
remember that the Pharisees were asking him. If you go before, they were asking him concerning. She said, "You do earn this." Go a little bit more back, no,
Okay,
more down, more or no, up. I mean up.
got you. I got you.
All right.
Right here.
So third, seventh, one with that also. All right. So they ask him.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 28. Therefore, in the resurrection, whose wife shall be of the 7? All right, because they're asking about having wives in heaven, like between us people, like you marrying, let's just say, another girl. And then Jesus saying, "Yo, you do err in the scriptures, not know the power of God." And and then yes, when we get to verse 30, is that nobody's going to be given unto marriage, but are as the angels of God in heaven. Now think about this for a second.
Mm-hmm.
We're married to God. We're given into marriage unto God because we're the bride, as Jesus described.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not going to be marrying anybody else because we're already betrothed.
If anything, let's take that let's take that verse again, because I notice it says as the angels in heaven. So therefore, if the believers um, are as the angels in heaven, what is it like? What I'm trying to ask here is there multiple houses of believers, different like are because let me see how do I phrase this. Are there different groups of divine messengers, angels in heaven? Or are they just as one group, the angels in heaven?
There's multiple groups.
All right, show me.
As far
Show me
as
this.
angels, you ain't. Well, actually, no, wait. Divine groups, as in like, what are you trying to ask particularly in this question?
Okay, take the house of Israel, the house of Judah. These are clearly one people, but there's still two distinct households, and that's why one can be that's why one we see gets
Oh,
divorced.
well, we see there's different types of there's different types of angels. I don't know about houses.
Mm,
I,
that's
I,
what
I don't know if I don't know if it'll be put like that.
yeah, that's what I because that's well, granted. Because another thought just occurred to me. Doesn't God well doesn't in Revelation it distinguish the 12 tribes of Israel and everybody else? So I could be wrong with that. Hmm. Let me see something real quick.
Mm.
The 12 tribes of Israel. Because I'm trying to see if as believers we will be distinct from Israel. Um, as far
Holy
as
city of Jerusalem.
what?
The holy city of Jerusalem.
Yeah, the 12,000.
Who's
Is
the
it?
bride? The bride is Israel, and we're grafted in. That's what it is. We're grafted in.
Jane, you talking in peace. You talking in pieces. Like now I think about it, I guess a good foundation would be to establish that God has multiple wives. Like just to keep things consistent. So real quick, um, the house of Judah and the
House of
house
Judah.
of Israel. Um, quick two families verse. Is that Jeremiah 3?
What up, my boy?
Let me hold up. Jane, what are you doing?
Putting my lasagna in the microwave.
Alright, come on now, Jane. No, you wanted to get into this. You wanted to get into this so bad. Don't run now. Don't hide from me now.
No, we here. Read the music.
In the future, I might edit this down. Like this could be the raw live stream, and I might edit this down into a video and repackage it. Nope. That I don't,
Mm-hmm.
oh wait, that might be actually. I gave your master's house to you, and your master's wives to your arms. I gave you all Israel and Judah. And if all this had been too little, I would have given you more. Oh wait, I think this is unto David actually. Hold on.
I can. What are you looking for?
I'm looking for where God talks about how Israel is distinct from Judah, but yet they're
Oh,
still married.
yeah, I'll show you. I have that actually.
All right, you better open up a live.
All right.
Because whenever I do this, I want scriptural reference, just so my viewers can be educated. You know what I'm saying? They, they, we talking a lot of stuff, and it's like some of it, like I'm sure some like to some people they kind of already know, but it's like just for those people. I know it's in Jeremiah, right?
Uh, Jeremiah, Ezekiel. I'm gonna find a good one. There's five. There's five specific ones.
Mm-hmm. I just type in God's wives to see what pops up. Now they give me questions. Need verses. Um,
Oh, look in chat. Look in chat. Look in chat.
not right now, young one.
Wrong one. All right.
Yes, you're not cursed with knowledge yet. You're not like us.
Cursed with knowledge.
Sure, buddy.
But I can't find
Where's your
the video.
covering?
Oh no, Jake, focus. We gotta.
On me right now, monkey. It's on right now, monkey.
We got a lot to cover as far as
Okay. Go to Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 31.
There we go.
Stop doing that. Why do you always burp, bro?
You said 31. Verse.
Chapter 31, 31.
Oh, 31, 31. Cool. Let's see.
You burp like a freaking man. You burp more than a man.
Yeah, this is unladylike, young lady. Come on now. Well, who raised you?
Cool.
That ain't cool. What you got going on? You young people.
It's not. That's masculine. Women's not supposed to be masculine.
Let's see. Behold. All right, the verse you gave me. Behold, the days are coming, says the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt. My covenant which they broke, though I was a husband to them, says the Lord. This is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, says the Lord. I will put my law into their minds, and into their hearts. I'll write into their hearts. Then I will be their God, and they shall be my people. No more shall every man teach his neighbor. But this confirms real quick. Given he distinguishes the household, this confirms that he's married to both of them.
And he says them, not her, as in one. He sees them as two separate entities, and then says them.
Let's see. I don't see it. Guys, this is New King James. Let me go.
I don't understand how girls can wear those dresses. I have one. Those are so weird.
All right, if you go do some random babble, I might have to move you from this conversation.
Sorry, I'm looking at something.
We live streaming here, and we about to teach the people. Basically, we about to dig deep into Bible concepts like polygamy, divorce, remarriage, and stuff. So I do need you to respect the fact that we're plotting to do something here. We're attempting to do something. We're showcasing the Old Testament, how it affects the New.
So after we look at that, go to Jeremiah 33, verse 24.
33, verse 24.
We're going to find out that God does not see them as one entity, but two separate families. Very true.
Let's see. Jeremiah chapter 33, verse 24. Have you not considered what these people have spoken, saying the two families which God has chosen? He has also cast them off. Thus they have despised my people, as if they should no more be a nation before them. There you go. And this is, given this is a few chapters down, this is definitely talking about. Or does it go into more after this verse, Jaden?
Well, I'm looking some more.
All right, go ahead, take your time. Let's see, verse 25. Thus says, Lord, if my covenant is not with day and night, and if I have not appointed the ordinances of heaven and earth, then I will cast away the descendants of Jacob and David, my
Oh
servant,
shoot!
so that
I
I will
remember. I
not
remember
take
Jacob.
that I will not
Jacob
take
and his two
any
wives.
correct. And I will not take any of his descendants to be rulers over the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I will cause them.
Isaiah chapter 54.
Isaiah chapter 54. All right, I should probably just add all this together onto one splash. Give me 1 second. All right.
So
Let me see. This was 33, 24, and you said Isaiah what
enemy
now?
profile picture.
You said Isaiah what now, Jaden? You said 54? If I'm not mistaken.
Of
What verse?
verse 1.
Also, who that breathing like that? Yo.
Sorry, I had the mic close to me, really close to me.
All right. Sing, O barren, you who have not borne. Bring forth into singing and cry aloud, you who have not labored with child. For more are the children of the desolate than the children of the married woman, says the Lord. Explain that.
So the desolate one. We have two entities again: the desolate one
Mhm.
and the married one. Remember, God didn't divorce Judah.
Hmm.
Judah always remained married. Now, to an extent, he rejected them, but he never gave a certification of divorce to Judah. Judah always remained married, even though they both played the harlot, kind of. So Israel was divorced. She's the desolate one.
Mm-hmm.
But he's saying that her sons will be more numerous than the ones that married, which is Judah, which is true. Israel became more than Judah. Now, give me a second while I get some.
No problem, no problem. We taking this bit by bit. So already we've established that God seems to operate with multiple wives. Not even seems. Scriptural references for this so far: Jeremiah 31 verse 31, distinguishing the different households amongst his people. But of course, in that same book, 2 chapters later, in verse 24, speaking of them as two families chosen by him. And of course, I'm 100% sure Isaiah comes after, because after this, this seems to be in reference to which makes sense. If I'm not mistaken, there's a verse that talks about how if God wasn't, I'm about to paraphrase this, on our side. Check, is that it? If the Lord had not been on our side, let Israel say, if the Lord had not been on our side, when people attacked us, they would have swallowed us. Well, that is one reference. The flood would have engulfed us. So speaking to Israel's desolate state, but I was thinking more of Isaiah's reference where it talks about we would have been like Sodom and Gomorrah. And this is how the chapter starts off. If I'm not mistaken. Unless the Almighty had left us some survivors. This is the international version. Might as well get the whole chapter at that point. Speaking of Israel's desolate. I don't know why they keep giving me the verse. Just one verse. These different Bible apps. There we go. So now I can just type this in real quick. Isaiah 1. Oh, wait a minute. Hold that thought. I may have spoke presumptuously. The vision of Isaiah, the son of Amos, in our English language, which he saw concerning Judah. Hmm. I definitely spoke presumptuously.
Toy toaster.
Oh no! Actually, this is perfect. Okay, so what's interesting here is Jaden. I in the first chapter of Isaiah, this chapter is actually speaking of basically how Judah
Rachel.
is still married, because this whole thing is a vision concerning Judah. So therefore, this confirms that like Judah was not kicked out in the divorcement. Speaking of that same divorcement, yeah, because no wait, that's David speaking in of Psalms. I was about to cook, but I was about to burn the meal just now. Let me see. Israel's divorce meant.
Women commit sexless adultery.
How women commit sexless adultery. How you do that, Jaden?
That's what I'm still trying to figure out.
What you cooking? Hey, wait a minute. What you cooking over there?
Lizzo after. Never mind.
Aaliyah.
Lizzo.
What?
Isn't that weird fat rapper singer girl?
Yeah, and like she fat shamed and like
I don't want to
not
talk
being
about
very
that.
nice to her.
That's foolishness. Like,
So let's go to this. Let's go to the nitty gritty. We don't need to go all the way down to that yet.
all right.
Let's go to the particular part that was kind of the go to the conversation, and that was what we're basically what I'm trying to figure out is if we knowing that adultery is how it's laid out in the Old Testament has always been a woman. It has always involved a married woman. So if the guy's married and he has sex or deals with a single girl, it's not adultery; it's fornication. And it's a fornication if he doesn't marry her, but if he marries her, uh, and then he just takes her on as another wife. But adultery takes place is if that girl's married. You can't just take another man's wife.
Hmm.
So knowing that, and one thing that we find out is in the New Testament, Jesus mentions that, and we're gonna have to go to three places: Matthew 5, Matthew 19, and Mark 10, and Luke 16 is all the passages in the New Testament where Jesus talks about uh, about adultery, divorce, and remarriage, where he says that pull up.
You said Matthew.
Pull up. Let's go to Matthew. I want you to pull up on three different tabs because they're all gonna say one's gonna have something, but the other one's not. And I think it's gonna be Matthew 19. Pull up Matthew 19 and Luke. Pull up Matthew 19 and Mark 10. 11 and Mark 10 verse 11 and then Matthew 19 I don't know what verse, but it's dealing when Jesus says they're asking him. The topic of this is when the Pharisees are pressing him on divorce, and he says, well, in the beginning it was not so. It was never meant for anybody to get divorced,
You
right?
said Matthew what?
But God.
You said Mark what?
Matthew 19. Matthew chapter 19 and then Mark chapter 10. And it's also, we'll look at those two, and then find the verses for those where Jesus talks about whoever puts away or divorce his wife and marries another commits adultery, except for the cause of fornication or something like that. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Aaliyah.
Hmm?
What do you consider tall for a guy?
What?
4'11", so like 5'2".
Oh, I'm about to say 4'11".
What?
Were you a hobbit?
5'2". Oh man, you said 5'2"?
A
Dude,
five
all the
five.
all the Mexican immigrants from Mexico are literally
Shut
like
up!
freaking.
Don't talk about my cousins like that. Oh my gosh, bro. They're all freaking 5'2" to 5'5", bro.
All right, this
They
is
are.
is it the same chapter? For like, well, same situation for both of them that I have to find real
I
quick.
really like him 6', 5'9".
You girls, your heights so
I
superficial,
I can't reach the shelf.
I just
so
still
Down
have
on the table.
superficial.
Leo. I just
Yes,
so
man.
happen to be 5'9" on my driver's license.
Listen. I'm only 5'7". Like y'all can keep y'all heights. Like I ain't even finna lie. All I'm gonna say is if you're a woman and you overlook a good man because you don't meet the height requirement, he dodged the bullet. Amen. Praise God. Thank you, Jesus. Because I ain't even feel like that's
Yeah,
wild.
that means no man, if any man's worried about they'll never have a wife because they're too short, just know that you exist on this planet, Elia. There's a girl who's literally not even 5 feet. She is literally Yoda.
I've dated. Well, she may have.
My best friend,
I
she's
think she may have
five
been
nine.
4'11".
And
Like
then her
my crush
little
back in high
brother
school.
is. Oh, she's not 5'9". She's 4'9", and then her little brother is 4'4". And he's in my grade.
Hey Jaden,
4'4".
real quick, while we setting up, is this the same situation, in Mark 10 as like in Mark 19?
Yeah, it's all the same event.
Okay, all right,
Yeah, all the passages I laid out are all the same event.
all
Is
right.
when he's getting pressed by the Pharisees about divorce.
Jaden, how come earlier when you were talking to me, you said that you were in deep? Did something happen?
No, we were just studying deep about divorce,
So
remarriage, and
hungry.
adultery.
Uh,
Like in deep about that.
I took a nap, and you guys are still talking. How far did you guys get?
Well, we only 42 minutes in, and we what are we talking about divorce now, Jaden? Because we already went through God has
Yeah.
multiple wives.
No,
Okay,
yeah, we're past that now.
I have no
Now
idea.
we're trying to uncover this divorce part.
So, is there an issue, Jaden? What are you not understanding?
What I'm trying to understand, particularly, is that if a person, now what I'm trying to, is there two things, is that the common grounds of adultery involves a married woman when a man takes a married woman, and that's adultery.
Mm-hmm.
And here in these, uh, when Jesus gets pressed on divorce, and they're trying to trap him, on Deuteronomy chapter 24 on divorce and the reasons of divorce, Jesus references that if you divorce your wife, now that's also debatable too, because the other side, people are saying that the Greek word there used is put away, and that she's not technically divorced yet because there's no certification given. The guy's just putting her away and not giving her a certificate of divorce. But either way, both ways, whether or not you take it, is that he's saying, well, it would make sense if all right. So these are the two ways. I'm gonna tell you all. I'm gonna lay out all the interpretations, and then I'm just trying to figure out like which one's the most consistent within Scripture. So first interpretation: the guy who's married to this woman, we'll call it man A and woman A. Man A lusts after woman B, who's married to man B.
Yeah.
And because of that, he wants to marry her, allegedly. So he puts away his wife, woman A, and then goes and marries woman B. And the woman B obviously leaves her husband or whatever. Or even if she was that seems to be the way. And him putting away his wife divorcing her and then marrying another woman, he commits adultery. Right? But now I'm trying to think about this. I need to get my notepad because I read so much this morning. There's like so many different interpretations on this that I'm like mixing up. I'm like mixing up one interpretation with another one. I'm like mixing up as one interpretation when they're not. Hold up. Because that was actually a different. I mixed up two different interpretations as one. That was supposed to be for a different interpretation. Where is my freaking iPad at?
Good, man.
I don't know, but I'm looking at the word there. It's Apollio.
Yeah, that's where we get apostasy.
Putteth to set free, to let go, to dismiss, to detain no longer. So I'm using the blue.
Yeah, and then you look at so the other interpretation for that one is that Jesus is that so this is how it goes. The Pharisees are misquoting the law. They're quoting the Old Testament. They're kind of misconstruing it to Jesus. And what they're trying to do is because they're trying to get Jesus to say one or two things. They're trying to trap him, and that is the first thing is that to trap Jesus to saying. And let me pull up the scripture, and we'll go to I think Matthew 19 might be the better one. That has
Matthew 19, specifically verse 9, as far as when Jesus gets in, like that's in the middle of it, as far as
All right, I'll start here.
Putting
so they're pressing him. Verse 3.
Oh, my bad.
Is it lawful? So this is where it starts because they're trying to press him on something. Is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife? And here's a quote: for any reason at all.
No, only for the case of adultery.
Now here's the thing is that when looking into it is that the word for divorce here, one thing that they're saying is that this isn't the Greek word is not actually for divorce. That the Pharisees are talking about putting away, to put away your wife for any reason at all, which means she's not technically divorced yet. You're just putting her away for any reason at all. And the answer says, "Have you not read? He who created the male and female made the man created the man and female. For this reason, man shall leave his father, mother, and be joined to his wife." So he talks about why in the beginning divorce was never supposed to happen. So they no longer.
There's only supposed to be meant for one.
Oh, did he go out for you? Like go in and out?
So he says, so they are no longer two, but one flesh. What therefore God has joined together, let no man separate. And they said to him, why then did Moses command to give her a certificate of divorce and send her away? So we see send her away here now. So you have the certification of divorce, because in Moses it was you write the certification of divorce, you put it in her hand, and then you send her away. Now she's officially divorced. And then he said to them, because of the hardness of heart, Moses permitted you to divorce your wives, but from the beginning it has in the beginning it has not been this way. And I say to you, whoever divorces his wife except for immorality and marries another woman commits adultery. So
that word should not be translated as fornication, but immorality.
Except for immorality, fornication, adultery,
sexual immorality.
Marries there commits adultery.
Well, I mean, let's see. Yeah, that's pornea. Pornea. You know, it's very interesting how the Greek lexicon has very interesting influences on our English.
Yeah, so sexual immorality.
So yes, if you watch porn, you can get divorced.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, I'm saying that. I'm saying that because I know that word pornea.
I know. I'm literally just teasing. I'm being a menace.
Divorces his wife, except for
think
immorality, marries another. Okay, so here how adultery seems to be committed, and these are going to be the variables here. Is that if
Share your screen, unless you don't want to.
yeah, I'm gonna share my screen.
All right, I'm finna start streaming on my end and from the Discord.
So how it seems is that if you are divorcing your wife, I say unto you, whoever puts away his wife except for immorality and marries another woman commits adultery. Bro, my brain is I can't even comprehend this right now, bro.
Take your
I
time.
literally cannot even comprehend what I'm reading right now, bro. My brain is just so big.
Take your time, Jayden. We going through this one by one. So it says.
Okay, we'll go through. All right, let me. I'm gonna get. All right, right. All right, we're gonna put it down. We're gonna go by each. We're gonna lay down each variable. All right. First variable. Let's assume that this is a legitimate divorce. Okay. That it's not just putting away, but that they're actually legitimately divorcing. Okay. So the Pharisees are trying to press him if you can divorce your wife for any reason at all. And they're quoting from Deuteronomy chapter 24, verse 1, for the fact that if a man finds anything indecent in his woman, he can divorce her. Now, there's two things. This is how they're trying to trap him, and I'll tell you why. Because they're going to try to get him killed for this. This is like one of those things of what he says is like a life or death situation right here. Because John, what's his name? Basically accused, what's his name?
King, like some king.
King, yeah, one of the kings, because he left his wife to go marry another person, and then because he lusted and then divorced his wife and then went to go marry on another one, and then John got on him about that. So it's kind of one of those things where if he,
Was it King Herod?
I think it was actually him. Yeah,
King Herod.
The specific.
I think
king.
so.
Yeah, the specific one.
Yeah, Herod.
Herod.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
In fact, let me go. I was actually just let me go back to my notes on that one, right here.
It's alright.
On this one.
We'll get more organized and behind the scenes. I have practice. Because this is the thing. We'll just take this as the raw footage for the live stream, and then in the future probably edit it. Like, I'll probably try to edit it down. Essentially, get key portions just to smooth it out into a shorter, like 30 to 20 minute long video. So it's alright. Take your time. More content.
Okay, let me bring up the story.
Why are you doing that?
Hey, you could just put adultery refers to marital infidelity.
Yeah. Marital. What do you mean marital infidelity?
Marital, like a marriage, marital infidelity.
Mm-hmm.
They hope he will. All right. So they hope that he will either admit that God allows divorce, or condemn divorce and remarriage, and risk the wrath of Herod Antipas, as John Baptist did. All right, and that's from Mark 6. Because John the Baptist, what did John the Baptist do in Mark 6? Let's go to that.
Speaking of which, I might do a brief intermission just to set something up real quick.
For Herod himself had sent and had John arrested and bound in prison on account of Herodias, the wife of brother Philip, because he had married her. For John had been saying to Herod, "It is not lawful for you to have your brother's wife." Herod had a grudge against him and wanted to put him to death, and he could not do so, for Herod was afraid of John, knowing that he was righteous and a holy man, and he kept him safe. And when he heard him, reflects, and he used strategic day come when Herod on his birthday gave a banquet for his lords. Okay, so it seems that I've read somewhere that Herod divorced his wife, and because here doesn't necessarily say it just says that he has his brother's wife. But I read somewhere else that somebody said that he divorced his former wife for this wife. It was his brother's. Wait, so it's his brother's wife. Hold up. So that means that's adultery right there, because that's another man's wife. So hold on. Now I can understand that.
Mm-hmm.
For less than our adultery.
All right, so let me know what you cooking right now, Jaden. Like the meal sounds good, but what is this for?
I'm trying to understand is for here. Let me hear. All right, Leo. When you read this passage, what do you conclude whenever you read this passage? Let me hear it from that first.
What passage are you talking about?
When Jesus talks about his conclusion with divorce, and then his and divorce and remarriage and adultery.
All right,
here.
So you're going right back to Matthew 19 and Mark 10.
Mm-hmm.
Give me he relates it to how like joint as one and how like from the beginning it wasn't so. He's definitely against like divorcement as a concept, but he understands I guess the human plight of how we can I guess we can transgress one another so sinfully. However, he doesn't necessarily agree with it. That's how I've always taken it. See how he references Israel's heart and hearts. So it's almost like divorcement is a mercy killing. It's like you two are gonna flat out murder one another. There can be no reconciliation with the way you guys are acting right now. So it's better that y'all separate. Now I think about it, doesn't he conclude that that unless it's like a grave sexual transgression or sin, it's not even valid.
That the divorce is not valid.
Yeah. Like,
well, we know that in the Old Testament, it would be a valid divorce. Because the man was able to give a certification of divorce, and we know that it would be valid.
What about New Testament?
Yeah,
because Jesus completed the old. Given the Greek word there, I just went over that with somebody on the Discord a few days ago.
So can the woman can they both get remarried, or is this a legitimate divorce, or can they get remarried?
You asking me?
Yeah, like what was the question that you just asked? You asked a question.
Crap, like that just flew over my head.
Could the woman get married after this divorce?
Yes.
Well, granted, I don't. Well, because how does Paul's opinion like as an apostle play into this? Because I know.
All right, so this is what he says. Mm-hmm. So, assuming that this is a legitimate divorce, like legitimately,
if it's a legitimate divorce, she can remarry because he's already put her away. He's already had the certificate.
I'm talking about
Jesus is saying that it's only legitimate if it's because of adultery or fornication.
And granted, even then, he seems to be given he talks about how they're one flesh, and Paul kind of weighs in on this. This seems to be more so a separation, like so y'all can kind of get your heads together, so y'all can come back together rather than a permanent. That's like, well, we couldn't work things out. Let me go get another one. Well, we couldn't work things out. Let me go get another one.
No. If we recognize that in some cases scripture allows divorce, and the divorce is allowed and permitted by God, then marriage is also allowed without being considered adulterous.
Right.
Let me go to Corinthians with Paul real quick. 'Cause I just started my mind on something.
Dude, I don't know if this will help, but there's a thing here. It says, I don't know if Inspiring Philosophy, I think he got this from one of his Christian sources. It says, Jesus carried the prohibition against adultery even further than the Mosaic law. You know, he says, you have heard that it was said, you shall not commit adultery, but I tell you that anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery within his heart. That's the Matthew verse you guys were talking about. So even if a man tries to legally avoid adultery by seeking divorce,
I have a
he is already
question.
he is already guilty because of the lust in his heart that drove him to such measures. If a man legally brings another woman into the marriage, making it a polygamous marriage, he is still guilty of adultery because of the lust in his heart that motivated him to marry another wife. Even if a man or woman simply indulges in lustful thoughts, then he or she is committing adultery, even if no extramarital physical contact ever takes place. And this explanation by Jesus is made clear when he avoids all the nuances about how far is too far when someone other than a spouse, but when he says with someone other than a spouse, and it avoids the need to define what sex really is. Lust, not sex, is the threshold of adultery.
Oh, Jaden, this is what you were talking about earlier about how a woman can commit an adultery before she even touch another man.
Yeah, that second one. That second one that seems kind of off with how adultery was in the Old Testament.
Well,
Um,
Jesus is raising the bar in different areas because he will directly mention the Old Testament and then establish
Well,
um his divine new
Luke.
opinion.
I mean, not Luke. Leo and Jaden.
Hmm.
Jesus is trying to show them he's I don't have to say this, but
Hmm.
he's a representation of God. He's saying that's why he's making accounts to in references to Genesis, because Genesis was the ideal. This was like, guys, this was like, he's saying this is the ideal. This is from the moment of creation. One
Hmm.
man, one woman, to make a lifelong pact to be united and appear before the Lord as one flesh. So anything other than that is not ideal, and according to God, which is why Jesus is so against it. He's saying if you even look at another woman, you've committed lust. You've committed adultery within
adultery.
your heart. Yeah. So if you cannot make a lifelong commitment,
Hmm.
and the way that I see it is when you make your vows, like I made my vows to my wife,
Hmm.
it says for better or for poor, for richer or yeah, for richer or for poor, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health. That means that marriage is not just about the good times. It's about the bad times. It's about growing with each other. It's about
Hmm.
supporting each other, and it's also about the children. So it's not just about, oh, marriage is just to be happy and this. When you're struggling, you're supposed to support each other because it's like yourself. It's like when you fall, you need to pick yourself up. You don't just abandon don't abandon your partner,
Hmm.
who's literally your better half now, because she's become one in flesh with you. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
That's not something
Um,
that you abandon, Jaden. That's Jesus is
when
basically saying you never abandon that.
Hmm.
when Jesus says that when you look at a woman with lust, you already committed adultery in your heart, is he saying something that's new to them? Is this like a
Yes,
new thing, or is this already in
yes.
the Old Testament?
No,
No,
like,
no.
well,
He's saying
this was already a thing because take how faith we affirm faith alone saves as scriptures does concerning even going back concerning Abraham. So therefore, um if the salvific process starts before a physical action starts, so too does the opposite Like this is what Jesus talks about. What their hearts have waxed gross, right? The hearts are far from me. Or how I think this verse that literally says salvation is of the heart. So like therefore that means that sin also starts there. So therefore, if you he isn't really reiterating something they like that's not really too new to them. At least they shouldn't take it as new, given they know that
Well,
they
no,
must
Leo.
believe.
Leo, it is something new because in the context of
I'm
him
saying like the
talking about, oh,
breadcrumbs are
you've heard.
already there. Like the breadcrumbs
Oh,
are already there.
but Jaden, he is introducing something to them new because he's practically saying, you've heard that it was said, do not. He lists a whole bunch of things on the Temple on the Mount, right?
Yeah.
Or the on the temple in
Specifically, you
Matthew
talking
chapter
about verse 27.
25. Yeah. Okay. So he's saying like he's giving a list like you've heard that it was said, you people, this is how you know it, that you should not commit adultery. He's saying that you guys think it's simply physical sex.
Mm-hmm.
And Jesus is saying, no, it's not. It's more than that. He's saying, according to the Father, he's appealing to his God nature.
Mm-hmm.
Anything, if you even lust at another woman, you've committed adultery in your heart. And the context is further supported when he said, you've also said, it's, you've heard that it was said that thou shalt not commit murder. So again, he's saying, and then he talks about it. And then when you go to the old passages, it's talking about physically killing someone. But Jesus is saying, no, it's something further than that. You have spiritually killed someone if you even hate your own brother for something that he did yesterday. If you hate him, then you've committed murder in your heart. And then he says, you've heard that it was said, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. And then he goes on and on. He's going a step further. It's like a reformation of their understanding, and it's completely new to them because they just see it as like, oh, this is the law. This is oh, as long as we don't commit normal, as long as we don't have sexual relations, it's okay. He's saying, no, you're wrong. That's still a violation of God's moral law.
So, but he's not but that this framework of doing it in your heart was already laid out in the Old Testament as well.
Well, they
Right,
like
he's
just
not
like
like, for
everything.
example, was
Just like every.
lusting was lusting in your heart for a married woman a sin in the Old Testament?
I don't think that. Well, you'd have to find that because
It was a sin, but remember the people that he's talking to right here, they're looking at the law as like
legalistic.
almost like they're a very legalistic way. And
I mean, because
Jesus is
they're
going.
already trying to misconstrue the law to Jesus already.
Well, yeah, because they're literally playing by the book. They're like, Jaden, it's like if say like you were a lawmaker and you're like, oh, would you support? I can't think of anything right now. They're like, would you support? Oh, let's just say let's just say like abortion, right? Let's just say because we as Christians we know that abortion is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say that like I don't know, like a lawyer saying that like, okay, Jaden, you're pro-life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then Jaden, would you, since you're all about pro-life and you care about life and you think that there should be repentance, do you support the capital death punishment if you're pro-life?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, why do you support it? Because now it doesn't seem like you're pro-life. Now it just seems like you're anti-abortion only. You don't care about all life because you just said if life was truly sacred and worthy enough to you, you would give that man as many chances as possible and you would not kill him. You would not allow a system to kill him. They're trying to trap him like that. They're basically like, ooh, we're gonna play hard by the
So
book.
that means Jesus, when he said, he's not saying to them anything new. He's just revealing what's already. He's just revealing that was already told.
Yes, and he's trying to open up their eyes anymore because I think it's like they have. I forgot what it is. It's like another reference in the Old Testament, but their eyes are like. I forgot what it says. I think it's like in Psalms or something where it says like your eyes are like calloused over or something, or it's like a mention of Pharaoh. Leo, do you know what I'm talking about?
Because
No.
It's
I
like
see that.
it's like make their heart of stone into a heart of flesh, and take the
Oh,
callous or
that's
the hardness
Ezekiel.
from their eyes.
That's Ezekiel
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
36. Yeah.
That's what he wants, because he's saying that because again, guys, what's the number one issue with humans is sin. Their hearts have been hardened. They're not seeing this deeper revelation that Jesus is trying to show them. It's always been there. It's always been there in their face. They just have not seen it.
To be fair, this reminds you of how Deuteronomy mentioned that circumcision of the heart, and it goes by as just the circumcision of the flesh. Well, let me see that actually, because
Mm-hmm.
I just saw that a few days ago.
Yeah.
Deuteronomy.
Does that make sense, Jaden? Are we going somewhere?
Yeah, so it seems that Jesus isn't saying anything new. He's just repeating
No,
that
he's
which is
not.
already said.
Yes, he's repeating it, but these people are stubborn. They're so stuck in their traditions, just like with the Pharisees. They're so stuck, and they think that they know it all. And he's telling them, "Dude, it's been in front of your face this whole time, and yet you do not. Do you still not understand?"
Okay.
I
Does
think
that make
it's
sense? Like, do you
yeah.
understand what Jesus is doing? He's trying to outplay them, but these people, and Jesus knows what's also in the law. He knows that basically these are like lawmakers. They're trying to get like a gotcha moment on him, but he has to appeal in a way where, like you said, they don't kill him.
So in here, what's the gotcha moment? Like, what are the two choices that they think that Jesus has to say, and then the answer that like, what are the two choices that's going through their minds that they think Jesus only has two options to say?
They think either, well, it's in the account.
Moses.
Go to like a commentary on the two things. On the two,
Mm,
like when it says that they sought to conspire and test the Lord, which you should look. I think there's like a common like historic, or not historical, like a historian consensus as to what they think it is. You should go with what they think was the issue.
yeah, I was just reading that of what was going through their brains, like of how they thought they were
Yeah,
going to trap Jesus.
yeah. I don't think it was multiple things, because I know you were saying that there's multiple interpretations. I think it's literally two things, and they're trying to get him. Do you read what it says?
I'm trying to find it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I had this conversation with my father-in-law, but it was like a couple of years ago. But it was a pretty deep conversation like this too, Jaden. And I don't remember specifically, but I know when I looked into it myself, there was like a general historian consensus on like with their opinions on the matter, and they all agreed that it was between two things. I just don't remember. I don't remember where I found it, but I do remember finding that.
All right, on the topic, like back on the topic of this last stream, polygamy, adultery. How does this play? How does this play? Because we're on adultery, right, Jen?
Is you're on what?
We're on adultery, right, Jen?
Yeah,
All right. How does this
I'm
not
reading.
how does this not play into adultery? So I'm finna go in this real quick to see if there's.
Dude, my legs are sore today. Oh man, I gotta freaking back at the gym, but I didn't realize how sore my legs were today.
Hmm.
Hey, do you guys mind if video I took to Jaden about doing that response, right, to the Council of Trent about once saved, always saved, like that Protestants believe? I wanted to do that video with you, but Jaden was saying he might not be available till like Saturday. Are you available on the weekend, Leo?
Uh, I go to work at 3, so we'd have to do it roughly in the mornings.
What about Sunday?
Sunday. I
You
still
got
work on
church?
Sundays. I don't have church on Sundays. Well, I mean, I can't get away from church. Discord church, like carry the Bible. Let me reading scriptures. I mean, like creating church content. I can't get away from Jesus. So he's consumed everything. But and
All
of
right,
course,
so Jesus is being asked to interpret an Old Testament passage. He responds by
Yep.
teaching from the Old Testament.
chapter and verse.
If Jesus were in this setting to make a blanket statement against adultery and divorce,
I'm guessing this is still on Matthew 5 or.
all right, Jesus is not countermanding Moses' teaching on marriage here. He's rejecting the flawed interpretation of Moses' teaching. In doing so, Jesus also acknowledges that the law of Moses is not.
Thank you.
That the law of Moses is not the gold standard. This was a standard given for the imperfection and hardness of people of the time. Instruction from the Old Testament would have not been the occasion to give a commandment on divorce. Second, Israel did not understand the command, "Thou shalt not commit adultery."
All right, y'all saying a whole bunch of pieces of stuff. Oh snap! I think about it. What in the world? I think I got some viewers now. Oh, that thought. I'm so sorry. Let me look at my live chat. It's just Reaper. What's up, Reaper? Uh, right. But anyways, they didn't. So I guess to give a formal of what in the world we were just talking about. Basically, it's very common that the Pharisees, the Jews had a very outward appearance of the law, but never a real a genuine fulfillment. Hence, why Jesus likens them to what a cup that's clean on the outside, but inwardly it's completely disgusting. So the fruit of the law will never penetrate their hearts, their minds, their souls, because they look at it as an outward conduct rather than like an inward teaching that refines um every facet of how they conduct inwardly their minds and hearts, because that's what God wants. He wants he wants I guess a true worshiper that worships not just with truth but in spirit. So they didn't have the I guess they didn't want to acknowledge or ignorant or just very dangerously ignorant of the spiritual. Well, I hate to use the word spiritual because of the times that we're in. The reality of the commandment wasn't just to an outward conduct. It challenges the hearts, it challenges the minds. And what I was talking about earlier, as far as the breadcrumbs, there's a verse that like this reminds me of, where if I have it real quick, I think I lost it. How they'll have certain stuff said in the Old Testament that they took uh they took it at like a as applied to the law, then they would already have the reality. They would already be thinking or be right exactly where Jesus wants them to be. So it's like Proverbs chapter 24 verse 9, even the thought of foolishness is sin, and the scorner is an abomination to men. So it's like already God's kind of placing breadcrumbs here and there to let you know the way you're thinking about sin isn't just a checkbox of I didn't do this today, so I think I'm good. No, you sure about that? How was you thinking? Where was you looking? And what was you feeling inwardly? And of course, heck, even with the personhood of David as king, it's like I mean, it says multiple times that God weigheth the hearts, but even towards David, he said, "Judge what not according to the appearance." when selecting his king. So already he's letting you know his example, or what is best exemplified, isn't just outwardly of what you do and what you don't do. Let me see. OT. Okay, David. Which means that yes, looking up like adultery happens before the first text, before the touching, before the spending of the time. It happens right when the heart starts to become infatuated with another individual. So guard your hearts, you women and men. You've already failed. There you go. I'm thinking of First Samuel, chapter 16, verse 7. Don't judge by the appearance of height, for I have rejected him. And this is concerning why God it. There we go. But the Lord said unto Samuel, look not on his countenance, so his parents, or on the height of his stature, because I have refused him. For the Lord seeth not as man sees. For man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on the heart. Of course, this plays into our salvation. This plays into how we approach sin and holiness. This plays on what fulfills the law. Basically, this is the revelation that they should have already had, because of a bunch of statements that they have from the Torah, from the scriptures before the Agio, before the New Testament was ever established. But now, seeing how you never caught on, now I'm going to give you what you should have already known from the very beginning. Now I'm going to establish my interpretation as God's interpretation, the true interpretation. I'm going to tell you exactly what I mean by keeping the commandments, by truly being obedient. Why everybody went silent? why everybody went silent?
Yes.
Stretching right now, Will.
Oh Lord, what they do it in the chat?
Equivalent to today's legal separation. Essentially taking a married woman or setting your own.
I just did a troll moment in the server just now. But all right.
All right, so this is what he's trying to say. He's trying to say that the Greek word used for divorced, the Greek does not use the word for divorce. The Greek uses the word for send away, equivalent to today's legal separation.
Which
She's
is
still married?
yeah.
Wait, essentially, that's confusing. Essentially taking a married woman
Mhm.
or setting your own ejected wife up to be taken as a married woman. Never mind dealing treacherously with her by not keeping, providing, protecting her. Taking another woman, then that would.
What article are you reading, Jaden? Because it sounds like you confused. Really,
No, Pete responded to me.
Oh, right, that old man. Who knows a lot about the Old Testament? I'm gonna look into, because the word used for divorce is that a polio word, which at best means to loose, to release, tie from burden. So what's the strong definition? Strong. Yeah, why not strong definition?
Still married.
It basically just means to set free, to release, to send away. All right, so just to catch up anyone else who would ever read this and who's reading this right now, polygamy, God allows it. We
But
still
today is
adultery, more than just
what
outward
today
action,
is.
and now we're on divorce. What constitutes as a formal divorce biblically? Oh my goodness. I gotta command some order in this darn Discord.
Okay. As you're taking a married woman or setting your own ejected wife up to be taken as a married wife. Well, what? Dude, I need to talk to this dude.
Alright, alright, Jay, don't keep us on the edge. Like, what conclusions you coming to right now? Because what are you going back and forth with him on to get the answer of? Keep the house of.
All right. What I'm basically all I'm going back and forth is because adultery is laid out as as a whenever you're dealing with a married woman that's not your wife, and what he's showing, this is what he's saying. He's saying that when it says divorce, that's not the Greek word for divorce. It's actually the Greek word for send away, which is equivalent to today's legal separation, i.e. they're still married, which I'm kind of confused because I would think that if you're legally divorced, that's like a legitimate divorce. Essentially taking a married woman or setting your own ejected wife up to be taken as a married woman. Never mind dealing treacherously with her by not keeping, providing, protecting her. And then he ends it by saying, taking another woman while staying married to your first and fulfilling your obligations is fine. It is the treachery in casting her aside with no protection or full release. So that's why I'm thinking a full release, a full divorce. And the full divorce in the Old Testament is certification in hand, then send her off. What he's trying to say here is that Jesus is talking about what he's interpreting the passage to be talking about is that Jesus is talking about sending her off with no full release. That there was no certification of divorce given. You're kind of just kicking her out. Like imagine you and your wife, and you just kick your wife out of the house, right? And then she goes sleep with another guy. Like you're not really divorced like that. Like you just send her away, and that's what he's trying to say is happening here. Is you're sending her off, so you're dealing with her treacherously. And the reason why adultery is happening here is because you're still married to her, and she's still married to you, because there's no official divorce actually happening here. The only thing I'm just trying to ask him is he said that sending her away without fully divorcing her is equivalent to today's legal separation, which I would think that a certification of divorce was like you have to do it legally, right? Make sure it's legal in paper and everything, so that she is free from you. So I would think that if you did it legally, if you divorce somebody legally, that you'd be free from. So I'm just trying to clear that up with him. What he means by that? Because that's kind of confusing. Because that kind of sounds backward, like upside down. I would think that if you equivalent to a certification of divorce would be you legally divorcing her, right? Because if you're still married to your wife and you kick her out and she goes sleep with another man, she's still married to you, right? It's not as simple as you just send her you kick her out. She'll sleep with someone, like you have to divorce her, right? And that would be equivalent to you writing a certification of divorce in the Old Testament. But one thing that Pete said, he said that sending her away is equivalent to today's legal separation. So I need them to clear up what that means, because that sounds like backwards.
It does sound backwards.
It's not official that they're broken up. Like they're just saying like, oh, we're not on good terms right now, but they don't have the legal status of divorce.
Yeah, I would think that if you don't have the legal status, if you don't have the legal status of divorce, it's equivalent to you not writing her a certification of divorce. So she's still your wife.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to what he said, because he said that sending her away without the legal certification is equivalent to today's legal separation. So that's kind of confusing. So I just texted him, get him clear up on that.
How long have we been going for? What about 2 hours now? Well, roughly.
That took about an hour and a half, and you guys were just talking about it.
He's an hour and a half.
It took like an hour and a half, and you guys were still talking about it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Jaden did want to do a deep dive.
Yeah, that's fine.
I ate it all. Yeah, wait, these lasagna? Oh yeah.
Lou, what were you
No.
talking about? You said that you got to go and clean up the chat. What happened?
How much is left?
The future.
They really want me to watch this ad. The future is military. But oh man, might have to edit this down. Might have to put timestamps. But okay, because
Divorce.
what are our conclusions so far, Jaden?
The future.
Testament. No final conclusion has been made.
Concerning what?
So what is the Greek word?
What constitutes
concerning this? Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. I want to figure out mainly this entire conversation. I want to know, is Jesus talking about a actual legitimate divorce here, or is he talking about simply sending your wife away, dealing with her treacherously without giving her a full release to be married to another man?
I would kind of lean towards the second one, given Paul's conclusions regarding like how a wife is already like because this stands from 1 Corinthians chapter 7, starting at verse 10, and unto the married I command, yet not I, but the Lord. So therefore this is Jesus' final word on this. Let not the wife depart from her husband. So already doing this is contrary to his will. But if she depart, let her remain unmarried or be reconciled to her husband, and let not the husband put away his wife. So basically confirming what he already said. Don't do it, but he's back ending it with this is the purpose. This is the only purpose of separation, in which it should only be allowed for a time, but for a reconciliation to happen. And I'll go ahead and put go ahead and put that together, given that this is from here. Who that texting me? Who trying to text me right now? Oh Lord, I'm gonna ignore that girl right now because I'm over here looking like we cooking with the scriptures, and she wanna start trolling the server. Of course she does. All right.
Ew.
You know that cat girl with the little cat profile. What do you think of my conclusion, Jaden?
Faulty, invalid. Read again.
Reading again. Boy, it sounds like you're trying to prove that. It sounds like you're trying to prove against my words, Jaden. Well, what do you got to bring to the? Oh my God, what do they be having on the side of these Bible apps? Like, wait a minute. Like, whoa, wait a minute. I just looked to my left and saw a horrible ad. The devil is trying. But what do you mean? Like, what other interpretation can you get from 1 Corinthians chapter 7 verses 10 to 16? Oh, what like hey, like what else can you get from that chapter other than you get like
Listen, your wife.
Divorce is allowed, but the Lord's opinion on this is that he still hates it. So that reminds me. Let me pin that up. Speaking of which, I hate
Husband
divorce.
kiss.
That's Malachi 2:16.
And another word.
Malachi 2:16. Well, really, the word for there wouldn't even be like it wouldn't even be divorce. He just hates you putting away anything. So
Only don't even.
what? What don't even what?
You said what? The Greek word there is what? Put her away. And then if you look at
it's not even the Greek word because this from the Hebrew. Remember Malachi 2:16 is from the Hebrew. Those traditionally translated as divorce. It could be argued that God takes it a step further and just flat out just saying, I hate when you just put away. So
I hate divorce. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
So the interpretation with that is that God. This is what Pete said. This is his interpretation of that.
Uh-huh.
He said that divorce it's the same word to be putting away without and that's excluding the certification. So what his interpretation as a whole on that is that God hates when you put away when you put away a woman without giving her a full release, and because of that you're dealing with her treacherously because you're not providing, protecting, and securing her. You're just throwing her away without a legitimate divorce actually happening. You're kind of just throwing her off to the streets.
Okay, but wait. If it's just exclusively that, like just purely that,
Mm-hmm.
why the command in 1 Corinthians chapter 7?
What's the command in 1 Corinthians chapter 7? And before we go to 1 Corinthians chapter 7, the reason why he said that is because God hates divorce, and God himself put, quote-unquote, divorced Israel. The only difference is he actually gave them a certification of divorce.
Okay.
So if God hates it so much, I mean, he himself did it. So it can't. So that word divorce, it can't just mean it's not just the full divorce thing he can be talking about, because he himself, quote unquote, divorced Israel.
Well, but even
so
even if you wanted to say that, look at how it plays out. He like it's not a you can go you guys suck, get up out of here, go after your own gods, your idols, you spiritual fornicators, you disgusting people. Nah, it's unto a eventual reconciliation.
It's what you're lacking, Leo.
I have no idea what you said. That was a yawn.
You're lagging, Leo. Say it again.
Testy. I was saying that
yes.
I was saying that even if you want to use God's exercising this, the problem here is God, like, that would actually add to my point because he uses it for a reconciliation of his people. So a divorce unto an eventual reconciliation back into form. So we separated for a time because you dealt treacherously with me, and I wrote and if we're using what Pete's interpretation as far as he hates it when it's not done properly, so you're leaving a woman high and dry. Well, he did it properly, and then and then essentially he reconciled them back through Jesus. So marriage divorce unto remarriage.
Yeah, but while God do it, the thing is that God said himself that he hates it.
Amen. But he's also God. He's a man of his word. Separation was always promised to Israel, like through Moses. Like if I'm not mistaken, in Deuteronomy, yeah, like now I think about it, because I think it is Deuteronomy chapter 30. It was always promised. Like the day you forsake this, you're cooked. You're done for. Shall come to pass, which I set free. Because let's see real quick. Let me see if it's chapter 30. It might be chapter 29. It shall come to pass when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse. No, wait. We done skip the curse. What's the curse unto Israel? Let me see.
See my boy Pete respond to me.
Yeah.
My boy Pete.
Real quick.
Nah.
Send me the videos you're referencing so I can put them in my comments, comment section. Because if you're getting reference from a old minister, just send it to me after the live stream. Because I ain't even gonna remember all that right now. But let me see.
All right. So what did you say was in 1 Corinthians chapter 7?
A cause for the separation to be unto the effect.
To the married, I give this command, not I, but the Lord. A wife must not separate from her husband, but if she does, she must remain unmarried or be reconciled to her husband. And a husband must not divorce his wife. Let's go to that. Let's go to look at that as well, because that's actually something that we need to deal with. It's 1 Corinthians 7.
Verses 10 to 16, roughly. Real quick. Gosh darn it, what a curse is that, Lord? What a curse is that, Bible?
Man,
I can't find it. What
should not leave her husband.
Oh my God.
But if she does, the wife should not leave her husband. But if she does leave, she must remain unmarried, or else be reconciled to her husband. So she should remain unmarried.
Maybe I sprung.
And that the husband should not divorce his wife, but rest die.
Maybe I'm
to the rest I, not the Lord. If your brother has a wife,
I literally just read this, Jaden. But
he must not divorce her. A woman who has an unbelieving husband, she consents to live with him, he must not divorce her. And a woman who has an unbelieving husband, I wonder if that's the same Greek word used for put away. 1 Corinthians 7. Go to the blue letter.
Check if it's also the Greek word for marriage, because even if he doesn't use that would bind that still.
Divorce her. And a woman who has an unbelieving husband and he consents to live with her, she must not send her husband away. For the unbelieving husband is sanctified to his wife, unbelieving otherwise unclean, but now is holy. Yet the unbelieving one, right here. Yet if the unbelieving one leaves, let him leave. The brother or sister is not under bondage in such cases, but God has called us to peace.
Let me see.
So
is that Greek? Is that
Greek? All right. So
married?
now hold on. This is something that we need to look at. So 1 Corinthians 7, the Lord saying to Paul that the instruction is the wife should not leave her husband, but if she does leave, she must remain unmarried. Now, Jesus already kind of talked about this. Jesus says that if that if she leaves, wait,
What verse we talking about?
then what does she mean by leave? Actually, should not divorce his wife. Put away? What should not put away his wife? Because we know that under certain circumstances, like adultery or fornication, marries another. Hold up.
You speaking in broken sentences, Jaden. I have no idea what you're saying, and I'm trying to keep up.
I'm putting the puzzle together right now, my boy. What up?
I'm seeing I'm seeing the madness. There is no method. Let me stop. Oh my goodness. Because what I feel like
I'm trying to basically I'll tell you what's going on in my head. I'm trying to harmonize this what Jesus already said in Matthew 19, Matthew 5, Mark 10, and Luke when he already addressed divorce and adult and being remarried, right? Because what Jesus said, all right. So we see Paul. Paul is saying, hey, if you leave your husband, so I still need to find out is this like an actual divorce or whatever. Let's just go. We're just going on what we can on the surface. A woman leaves her husband. He's saying that you need to remain unmarried or else be reconciled to her husband. Mm-hmm. So listen to what the Lord is saying. Do not get remarried. Remain to your husband. And the husband should not divorce his wife. Okay.
All right.
So, but Jesus has already said that any man who divorces his wife and marries another one, that it's bad only if that it's all right. It would actually, except for fornication or adultery, which would mean that it would be okay if adultery or cheating was involved. That means
the question,
divorcing and getting remarried would be fine, except for fornication. Because
the question for me is, does he mean like does he appeal to it being temporal or permanent? Because that's really what's I think the real question of this is. Like, if he's in favor of separation, though he's a guy who hates putting away, is because like that I think that's what's probably like tripping you up. Is it a permanent? So therefore, go with somebody else. Oh Lord, you need to get your internet in order because my stream is perfectly fine. Let me stop. Like I think like testing. Can you hear me now, Jaden?
Yes.
All right. I think what's tripping you up the most is does Jesus, I guess, say yes to a permanent separation or say yes to a temporal separation? Like,
what do you mean?
Like is like because no like this like if this is the Lord speaking in what is it called okay I'm on 3 different accounts right now. If it is because this is a commandment from the Lord about basically just not putting away. I mean, though, if it does happen, don't legalize it. Basically, go in peace if it happens. But this is not what he wants. Starting at verse 10. I would assume that the divorce that Jesus is talking about is some sort of temporal, or our original conclusion a few years ago regarding this being not a fully legalized marriage, or better yet, like this is in the process of marriage, but now it's being called off. Like you remember that conversation?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because that's like what indicators like I guess from Jesus' side of things like his statements in the Gospels indicates that it's a permanent separation. Let me see. I'm thinking of
1 second.
no problem. I got tabs on tabs because I know that he appeals to when pressed upon this in Matthew 19. I know he appeals to let's see. He answered them and said, "Have you not read? He made them from the beginning, male and female. For this cause, they shall like a man shall leave his mother, cleave to his wife. Wherefore they're no more twain, but one flesh. And he appeals basically if God joined them together, whatever God has allowed to become one. Don't put asunder, which means, let me see, Matthew 19. What does the blue letter Bible translate that from the Greek? Matthew 19 verse 6. Blue letter. I said blue letter, my bad. Full chapter verse 6. What is that word for put asunder? Therefore, what God has joined together, let no. So that Greek word is korzio, and it literally means to separate, divide, part, leave a husband or wife, to divorce, to depart, go away, to place room between part. So it literally basically means to separate. So this like Jesus seems to be in favor of, at least in chapter 19 when pressed upon this, because this is, let me see, this is the Wolves follow them. What is the Pharisees talking about here? Pharisees also came to him, tempting him, saying, is it lawful to put a man away for every cause? Let me go back to the blue letter real quick, because what is the word for put away in this situation? Lawful. What is the Greek word there? Put away, apolio. So this other word, to loose, to set free. So that's the same word that's often translated as divorce. All right, are people like put as divorce? To detain no longer, to let go. That's a good question. Jaden, do you think the man in verse 3 of chapter 19 is talking about divorce?
Jeremiah what?
I didn't even say Jeremiah. I said Matthew 19 verse 3.
Verse 3, what is Matthew 19 verse 3?
Yeah. Is he talking
What does
about
it say?
divorce? The Pharisees came unto him, tempting him, and saying unto him, is it lawful for a man to put away his wife for every cause? What's that like?
They're
Yeah.
so the what's going on here is that they're quoting Deuteronomy 24,
Also, is this the
which is
same?
a part of procedure of divorce.
Hmm.
But the thing is where it's kind of iffy is either I don't know if the Pharisees are they're only taking a part of the scripture and then trying to twist it to Jesus and trying to get Jesus to say, yeah, it's okay just to put away your wife without a certification, or if they're using that as a whole. Like they're talking about the certification as well. They're just asking, is it okay just to divorce your wife?
Well, go down to verse 6, because what's it? Well, like Jesus answers this in a very interesting way, in a way he appeals to basically, if you came together, like basically like marriage being, the sanctification as one, basically the seal of a relationship. Basically, you're supposed to be as one now moving forward, because no man hateth his own flesh, right? Um, so given how Jesus responds, what do you think?
Hold on, man. I need to. Let's pause this real quick, bro. I can't even respond, bro. Give me a 5 minute.
That's all right. We may need to pause and bring a part two. I may add a thumbnail, basically be like introduction into the topics of of these topics, under or Bible, or might title it something snappy like biblical investigation. of topics such as polygamy and whatnot. Yeah, I like that. That's snappy. I might. That's exactly what it is. I'm gonna write that down. Biblical investigation. And I'll title the video "Introduction." Let me write that down because we could always come back to this and then become more, and obviously you can become more organized and sort of come back with new findings or different questions. Let's see. Polygamy. What else we got? Hold on. Divorce, adultery, and remarriage. Oh, I'm gonna have to add. I'm gonna have to edit that.
All divorce wives.
I'm gonna put adultery in front of in front of divorce. Yeah. So like a step-by-step process. That's exactly what I'm gonna do. Alright. I'm gonna retitle this video. I'm gonna put introduction in parentheses. Introduction. We're investing a crime scene of what we've been taught versus what the scriptures are trying to represent. Most definitely. We're looking at the concrete text and weighing different perspectives of how certain things should be taken, given that this is a prophecy that is fulfilled in the New Testament, but we must understand the Hebrew to better to get the richness of the different situations, because we don't want to speak presumptuously. Some of us speak presumptuously, talking as if say for example God had one wife, but then you go back in the Hebrew in the Old Testament, it's like, wait a minute, he had two houses, Israel and Judah. So, and of course, one got divorced, literally, and the other sprang up our Lord to reconcile that divorcee. As we see in the beginning of the New Testament, I've come for the lost sheep of Israel. The Lord's good graces. Oh, now I think about it. Have we talked about that briefly? Because that is a very interesting topic of how God was able to redeem Israel. I mean, granted, I may say that for a different video. When we come to a more conclusive understanding, I can just post it as one singular recording or just a brief live stream.
Yeah.
Tell that too. Now, also, you good now, Jaden? You got your 5 minutes, or you need more time?
Water right there.
In your face.
Oh Lord, Jaden,
You don't
if your
be
mom
like
about
that,
to,
Jaden.
I'ma
Okay?
just, oh my Lord, I'ma mute you just in case your mama says something crazy. I ain't trying to get demonetized. I oh my goodness. No, we're not gonna do that. We're not gonna do that. All right, give me 1 second. All right, Jade, is your mom still acting crazy? Well, let me not say like that. Jade, is your mom happy right now?
Yeah, she's fine.
Oh, okay. She about to say something crazy.
Mm.
Oh my god.
Alright, so let's just say it is a legitimate divorce. In this case, it would be...
Oh yeah, what was Pete's response?
Adultery. Causing adultery. Yeah, this is an interesting... let me see if Pete responded to me.
All right, now I think about it. Out of these topics, polygamy, adultery, divorce, and remarriage, what do we have clear answers for, and what is
All right,
what is
this is what I do have a
inconclusive?
clear answer for.
Yeah.
The clear answer for this, concerning whether or not somebody can get remember when it comes to this remarriage thing, or particularly particularly with this adultery thing, whether or not something's adultery.
Mm-hmm.
If the man takes on another wife, like he has a wife already and just takes on another wife, that's not adultery. But given this, it could be the case that if he divorces his wife for another woman, like leaves this woman, so he's dealing with her treacherously, not providing, not protecting, leaving this woman completely, and then for another one, then he's causing her to commit adultery. That's actually what it says. It says that he causes her to commit adultery. But it also says, which is kind of tricky as well, that he also commits adultery.
Is this from Leviticus, Deuteronomy? What chapters?
This is what in the New Testament, what Jesus is saying.
As far as what, Matthew 19 or
Yeah, with Matthew and Mark.
Hmm.
So, like something that Matthew said that was off is that about what inspiring philosophy said. Jesus here is not addressing polygamy at all. He's addressing divorce, and so either way, as far as this adultery sinner goes, it doesn't go against polygamy, because Jesus only says adultery is committed when the man is divorcing his wife for another woman. If it indeed is actual adultery. Now, the other interpretation of how Pete was taking it is that it's not the reason why adultery is happening here is because a divorce isn't happening, and when that woman goes and marries quote unquote another man, she's still technically married to her first. And a woman can't have two masters. She can't have two coverings. She can only have one head.
Question.
How
does one go about this is what I've always been confused about. How does one go about, I guess, like when you I guess you meet a girl, like you marry her. How does one go about entering a polygamous marriage? Like, is this something is this something that happens at the same time? Also, side note.
How does what happen? Okay. You lag. Say it again.
Okay, I think I'm still going. What I was saying is, like, how does one go about basically getting a polygamous marriage? How does one enter a polygamous marriage, if that makes sense? Like, how do you do that?
How does one enter into a polygamous relationship?
Right. Yeah. Like, how do you, because
you have a wife and then you just marry another wife.
Okay, how do you do that without it being adultery? Because these are the missing pieces for me. Like how do you do that? Because I'm thinking about, like, what do you marry? All at the same time,
adultery was always formerly known when taking another man's wife. Like, if that was the original definition of adultery, was dealing with another man's wife. So if you are married and you see a virgin and she's single, not married, and you take her on as your wife, adultery is not committed here. And if you were to have sex with her without being married to her, it wouldn't be adultery, it would be fornication. Even though you're married.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so how should Jesus's, because I think I'm going into like how should Jesus's like when he talks about, when he says whoever could looking on a woman with lust, is the word there for another man's wife with lust, or?
Yeah, so that's actually something that Pete was actually going on about, was that the Greek word for woman there is actually talking about, actually means a married or betrothed woman, and that it's not just because generally in that culture, I mean, the majority of girls were betrothed and were married. And what he's saying is that, because that's adultery. He's thinking about it. If you're not married and you lust after a woman, you're not. That's not. You're not committing adultery in your heart. You're committing fornication in your heart. That would just be fornication in your heart. So
I
he's
see.
saying adultery because obviously it's adultery because it must be you lusting after another man's wife.
I'm still confused on that one, but I mean, I ain't even like.
Y'all is still debating?
Oh, it's not. Oh no, it's not about debate. Like no, like
Oh,
we're doing a deep. Like I told you, Vita. Like this was a deep dive. Like you thought this was gonna be like what 30 minutes? Nah. Heck,
So
I mean,
you're
if
still
anything,
recording?
yeah, we chilling.
Oh my
First
god.
Corinthians
Alright.
7.
Okay.
Remind me that I need to see Pete's interpretation of 1 Corinthians 7, but let me clear it up for you. Adultery is when you deal with another man's wife. Married, whether or not you're married or not, it's another man's wife. She cannot be yours. Okay? She belongs to him. Think about it. When he says lusteth after a woman, you already committed adultery in your heart. Okay, so that means whoever this woman is, she must be married or betrothed, because whenever you're lusting after her, it's you committing adultery. Why is it adultery? It's another man's. If it wasn't another man's and she was single and not betrothed and a virgin, then the sin that you would technically be committing in your heart by lusting, in this case, or coveting,
Hmm.
which is basically I guess would say identical, because in this case, lusting, how Jesus is using it, is that you lust is that the woman commits. Okay, yeah, is that, yeah, right. So in this case, no. Now that makes sense.
Now
In
I'm
this case, you
confused.
can't. No, now
All right, go
now
ahead.
now I'm starting to get a bigger picture of this. You
Hmm.
can't lust after a woman. There's no in this case, when he says lust, he's talking about coveting, like you want this woman. Okay, so in
That's
this
a Greek
case, the
word
way
for
that
lust
he's
after.
is that's adultery. So in this case, there's nothing wrong with quote unquote wanting
Hmm.
a single girl. And in the context, the way Jesus is using it, lusting or wanting, or you're desiring, because lust is you're desiring this woman. But lust in this case is using a bad sense because it's a married woman. You can't lust after a married woman. You can't covet after her. You can't desire another man's wife. She's married. That's coveting. All right. It's you're trying to unlawfully obtain her. You can't do that. Uh, Now you can desire somebody who's single. That's fine. So that's the reason why it's adultery in this case, because adultery is always used and seen with a woman who's married already. And parallel that, we just go back to David. God had no problem with David taking wife after wife after wife. But then all of a sudden, there's a problem when he takes Bathsheba. The problem was it was another man's wife.
Hmm. That's
true.
I mean that's some solid reasoning. Write down in the comments.
God didn't say it. God didn't say a thing. Matter of fact, just to
Mm-hmm.
prove it,
Go ahead.
God. Now, adultery, God would in the Old Testament you would be killed for.
Mm-hmm.
David's over here wifing up every widows. He's wifing up this lady
Mm-hmm.
first. Michael, then Advigail, the widow, after during the time when Saul was trying to kill David, and then a couple more, I think like 7 to 10, and he also had on top of that like 10 concubines. God doesn't say a word, and then David takes Bathsheba, and then God was gonna kill him. He was gonna die, and then matter of fact, God spared his life because he repented. All right, because he repented. But guess what? The son of Bathsheba was gonna die anyway. That he had. He was gonna. God killed her. But then what happens? Uriah is dead now because he had him die. David marries Bathsheba.
I thought the
And
punishment was that the son they bore would die, not that he was going to kill David.
It actually does mention that God forgave this sin.
Yeah.
But because the way the messenger, because I remember what Jade's talking about, the way the messenger comes to him with the word of the Lord, like they liken it to a sheep, Jaden, to right like a man who has much wealth looks upon this man with his one sheep and says, I want that sheep. And so like basically like through some through the rich man's influence, that man perishes, and that one beautiful sheep that other man raised, took care of, he like the rich man now takes it now. I think the messenger says to him, or better no, I think David actually just gets really angry from hearing this. He's like, who has done this? He should die. And literally the man says, you've done this, basically outlining to him that the situation he orchestrated by killing the man.
When the prophet came.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
When the prophet came to him, David said out of his own mouth that the guy should die because he thought it was the story of another person. And the prophet was like, it was you. And then he fell, he fell to the ground and he like repented and said, oh God, So I was like, whatever. So yeah, I remember that.
Yep. And so God's like, oh, I've forgiven you, but this go have a sinful, like this sin go have a consequence, and the consequence was the child.
He took the the child's life. He tried to fast and pray that he wouldn't. Like he lamented, he tore his cloth, he wouldn't wash his face. He wouldn't eat because he wanted to, like, God to have mercy and not kill the baby. But he did anyway.
God's like, no, in this you will not be fruitful and you will not multiply. He said, no multiplying here. Not through this. Not through this foolishness you done did.
Because David even said out of his own words that the person when Nathan was describing the analogy, David said, that man shall be put to death. And then Nathan says, you are that man.
Yep. You're cooked.
Yeah. Caught red-handed. no way out of that one. Yeah.
Ooh, I'm out getting dry from all this talk.
I thought I got away with that one, huh?
So when Jesus says that you're lusting after a woman, it's it's dealing with women who seem to be betrothed or married, because the lusting is not something that you should be lusting after in this sense. It's not a good want. It would have been different if we're talking about virgins here. Then obviously you can desire a virgin and desire her and then go after her. But you can't do that for a freaking married person. All right? And that's why it's adultery, because adultery always usually and especially in the Old Testament was always with the married woman. Now, that's why the study was happening, because understanding that adultery is always with a married woman, I'm just trying to understand when Jesus talks about adultery in this when the Pharisees press him, is he starts calling people, saying that people are committing adultery, and it's not necessarily dealing with the married woman yet, depending on which way you take it. If Pete's interpretation is correct, then it would make sense why adultery is being involved here, because the woman is not actually divorced and she's still married to her former husband. So I understand why adultery would be considered there. But even then, there is one question I have about that, about Pete, is that it does say that he commits adultery, which is kind of interesting because how would he commit adultery even if he treacherously divorced his wife and dealt with her wrong and marries another?
Because
let me see.
Because him
what
simply
chapter? What verse we talking about?
it's just the simple verse when Jesus says, "If you divorce one and marry another."
Because if you divorce your wife, she didn't commit adultery, then you're in the wrong. But the man is in the wrong because there was he put her away without reason type thing. Is that what you're saying? In that passage?
That may be.
Yeah, I'm just trying to fit this in with the definition of adultery. That's what I'm trying to make sense of.
How is it committed?
Making it?
How is it considered adultery? Well,
yeah, because understanding that adultery is another man's wife, I can understand how the man, because the scripture does say when Jesus says that the husband causes her to commit adultery. That makes sense. That when Jesus said that part, that makes sense. He causes her to commit adultery because under this interpretation that it's not an actual divorce, is that she's still married, so she's committing adultery because now she's with another man that's not actually her husband.
How does the husband cause you to commit
if I'm not
adultery?
mistaken, Jaden, God is against unlawful divorces. So this may be what Jesus is addressing. Like you thinking just because you're not divorced, this isn't technically adultery. But what does God say? He said whatever God joined together, let not man put asunder. It's okay under certain circumstances of what fornication. He says, right, or as we read in the later half of 1 Corinthians chapter 7, where it's like
Leo cutting out this myself.
Oh Lord, am I cutting out, Jaden?
A little bit.
All right. testing. Put my mic up real close. I may just be, but he may be, his point may be attacking unlawful divorce, because divorce should only be under specific situations anyway, due to how God feels about putting what He has joined asunder, right? Joined together as putting it asunder. So that may be what Jesus is attacking right there. Saying why that's considered adultery.
Yeah, because
she hasn't transgressed you. You're transgressing her just because you want a divorce.
Yes, you are transgressing her. Because in this case, it would not be adultery if... Yeah, it obviously wouldn't be adultery if she cheated for the cause of fornication. And... Which... I want to know why it says fornication.
I hope you're writing all this down, because if we ever attack this subject again, are we going to a second live stream just to give like a short live
is
stream,
that obviously if she cheats or because of sexual immorality, he divorces her, he can get married to another girl.
Of course, because
obviously
she transgressed him, so therefore he can disannul or basically make void this marriage. But now this is the other side in which he's transgressing her.
But notice one of the problems with inspiring philosophy, how he was trying to attack this, is that he tried to use this passage to say that Jesus was condemning polygamy, when one of the things is Jesus gives a particular circumstance. If adultery happens and divorce happens and you remarry, that's adultery. Okay? That doesn't condemn the fact that a man, let's just say there was never adultery from the beginning, him and his wife, there was never adultery, there was never a divorce. that doesn't condemn the fact that he can just get another woman, and then now he has 2 wives, or 3 wives, or 4 wives. Mm-hmm. Jesus is only bringing up in specific that what is adultery here has to be a combination of the initial adultery, or no, what's adultery here, or not the initial adultery, is that what's adultery here is a divorce and a remarriage without the sexual morality. That's adultery. So that's one thing. So the passage itself, polygamy, the status of polygamy is in sight. It's just a nuance of it, knowing what adultery is and how it's with a woman, and just fitting it into the picture of how the man commits this sin in particular by unlawfully, per se, divorcing his wife. And how Pete said is that, well, actually, that's what that interpretation, actually, never mind. Because if it is a legit divorce, well, let's just say if it is a legit divorce, as it says, then it seems that there seems to be a new definition of adultery that Jesus is putting into play here. Mm-hmm. And this new definition of adultery is treacherously dealing with your wife. She's fully divorced, and that you commit adultery. You cause her to commit adultery. He commits adultery. Look here. Let's look at when the verse says that he commits adultery, because I know in one of the passages it doesn't even say he commits it. It just says he causes her to commit it. Mm-hmm. So open up Matthew 19, and it's in Matthew 5 as well as Mark 10. We're gonna look at all. There's also the account in Luke, and we're gonna look at all. We're gonna look at all 3 accounts.
All right, you said what now?
All right, so go to Matthew 5.
Matthew 5, chapter verse.
Just find to where. Just go to where he talks about the adultery and the divorce part.
You know what, Jaden? You're something else. All right. Ew, not the New Life version. I've heard all types of nonsense about that one. Let me see King James, because I'm old English. Where is it? All right, what else?
Did you find it?
Oh, right. Okay. Particularly what part?
Where Jesus says, "He that puts away or divorces his wife, saving for the cause of this, commits adultery or causes her to commit adultery."
That's specifically verse 32 of Matthew chapter 5.
All right, we're gonna read it because we're gonna look at all 3 accounts, and I want to see if one. Well, they all say a little bit different. One leaves out a little, says something a little bit different than the other one.
Rightfully dividing the word of God, eh?
Yeah. All right, and remind me, 1 Corinthians 7. Actually, I already have the view on that. All right, 30 what?
32 specifically.
But I say to you that everyone who divorces his wife, except for the reason of unchastity, that's NSAB, makes her commit makes her commit adultery. Whoever marries a divorced woman commits adultery.
Wait, what?
Now,
wait a minute. What? Wait a minute. What?
Yeah.
Oh, that's rough. So if she's divorced, wait, is this because of this specific case, or because now I'm confused now? Wait a minute. She can't.
So that's where it gets tricky, because Jesus sends away his wife, gives her a certificate of divorce. But I say to you that everyone who divorces. Jesus isn't changing the law. All right, there's no way he has to be. He's not contradicting the law that was given to Moses.
Of course.
So that's what I'm trying to understand. Because Moses, if a woman was divorced, she can get remarried. So makes her commit. Now hold on, understand this. This is only if she's divorced for the wrong.
In this circumstance, okay.
In this circumstance, obviously. But anyone who divorces his wife, except for the reason of unchastity, makes her commit adultery. Makes her commit adultery.
Is that what that word that talks about fornication is talked about? Well, is that word?
Yeah, fornication or sexual immorality. The other accounts are going to say a little bit different.
Pornea.
What does it say in the KJV for you in Matthew 5?
Matthew 5.
What word does it say?
It just says, but I say unto you that whosoever shall put away his wife, save for the cause of fornication, causeth her to commit adultery, and whosoever shall marry her that is divorced, committeth adultery.
Wait, you're lagging, bro. Say that. Except for the reason of what?
Fornication.
Okay. Makes her commit adultery. Alright, so you're divorcing your wife. Except for the reason of it, makes her commit adultery. Because that would mean the divorce is not legitimate because there's not a reason. Whoever marries a divorced woman commits adultery. Why? It's because the reason she would still technically be married to her initial husband. But it was said, whoever sends his wife away, let him give her a certificate of divorce. But I say to you that everyone who
Also, yeast Jaden.
So in this case, here in Matthew 5, that it doesn't even mention anything about the man committing adultery. It just mentions it's her that you cause her to commit adultery, because as the man, you can go get another wife and that's fine. But she's in a circumstance where she can't get another husband because she's still married to you, even if you quote unquote divorced her.
Isn't that in the terms of if neither of you have committed adultery, but the husband divorces you, that means she can't go and remarry because there was no adultery. Like there was no adultery in the marriage, so she can't legally, she can't go remarry because the terms of the marriage wasn't broken. It's like in a certain way.
Yeah,
but if one of you commits adultery, like if the husband or whatever committed adultery and they broke up or whatever, then they can divorce. And then if she was to remarry, she is not committing adultery with somebody else. But
that's fine.
Yeah, but if if they just divorced and he just put her away or whatever, and there was no adultery, then it says that if she goes to remarry somebody else, she is committing adultery with that person because they didn't break up the marriage because of adultery.
All right, so now that we understand that, there's really two sides to this, there's really two things left to this. Either they think it's let me think this through. They think it's a legitimate divorce, so the bill. So let's just say it's a legitimate divorce, bill in hand, but but because there's no actual immorality done, both are technically, or she's, they're both technically still married together, and she commits adultery in this. Okay, so so the thing to take account in Matthew 5 is that it doesn't mention the man committing adultery. It just says that he makes her commit adultery, and whoever marries a divorced woman commits adultery. Okay, so let's go to Mark 10 for the other account.
All right, here we go. Mark 10. Lord have mercy.
Verse 11.
So now I think about it. So we're on the last topic then. We're just sealing this live stream with adultery. this hell is so bad. All right. Mark 10 verse 11. He saith unto them, whosoever shall put away his wife.
Wait.
Yes. You all right,
So we
Vita?
see. Okay. So Matthew 5, we see that it talks about the woman getting remarried. Okay, that makes sense. That's the reason why it doesn't say, because the woman is the one talked about getting remarried here. But I say to everyone who divorces his wife, except for the reason of chastity, makes her commit adultery, and whoever makes her commit adultery, and whoever marries a divorced woman commits adultery.
But I guess it doesn't say the man commits adultery when he remarried.
He doesn't mention no, because I think the reason why it doesn't mention the man in this one because it doesn't even mention him getting remarried in Matthew 5.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
that's probably why. Because in Mark 10, we're gonna see him. It's gonna say that it's gonna talk about him getting another wife.
Yeah,
and he says that whoever divorces his wife and marries another woman commits adultery against her. Wait, again, it's against. Oh, he does. He commits.
So, yeah, that's his adultery now. So
commits adultery against her.
So this plays into
what? If he remarries another woman without adultery having broken the marriage, he commits adultery.
I think this is like would this be in favor of unlawful divorce?
I don't know.
Oh, I'm saying like would this be like dealing with unlawfully divorcement?
It sounds like something like that, unlawful divorce or breaking the marriage.
I'm just using like what we learned from what is that? Well, we were in Matthew chapter 5 just now, Jaden. Verse 32. Except fornication, like is this where this where you're overstepping bounds. Jaden?
Oh, I'm actually this if this is a real divorce, and it's for no reason, I guess it wouldn't contradict. I need to look back at the law of Moses for divorce because I know that Deuteronomy 24 talks about giving her certification of divorce if you find indecency. And I was reading, and people were saying that Jesus was revealing to them that because they were just divorcing their wives left and right and using that verse as an excuse, but he was revealing to them the truth, and he was basically revealing the spirit behind 24 verse 1, saying that the indecency was adultery. So because the thing that there's two things here. This is actually the foundation of what I want to find out. Is Jesus just extrapolating on something that's already in the Old Testament, and he's just going on and just revealing the truth of the law in the Old Testament, or is Jesus changing something?
I don't think he's changing something. He rarely does. Or at best it'd be fulfilling, like showing the fulfillment of the law.
Yeah, because
he already claimed he wasn't changed yet. Remember, I have not. Don't think I've come to what. I think it's one of those old English words.
Fulfill it.
Yeah, like the opposition to fulfill. Like basically make it void. He's not come to do away with the law. There we go.
But to fulfill it. So none of this, and this is something that so he's not saying anything new. Okay, he's not saying anything new. So this shouldn't be. So if Moses said something very clear in the law, that's how it should be in the New Testament. If it's clear like that, Jesus didn't come and change something and flipped it on its head. So then we need to uncover. Then we need to look at when you look at all the verses in the Old Testament, particularly concerning how God commanded people how to deal with divorce.
All right, are we gonna do that now or? Oh my goodness, this is a long live stream.
How long have you guys been talking about the sport?
Well, my
Adultery.
timer says we started 2 hours ago, but I think we're roughly sitting around 2 hours. Right? I think right about now, roughly 2 hours in about a few minutes, or 2 hours, 2 hours and
Dang,
32.
Jaden, who you trying to divorce in the future? Like, shoot.
Not like this is where we get into you
All
know,
right, this is where I'm getting. This is where I'm extrapolating.
precept on precept. You know what I'm saying?
This
Rightfully
is
dividing
where
the
I'm
word.
extrapolating.
Go ahead.
If Deuteronomy 24 was the indecency, that's why I need to find. I need to find out what did God have precepts upon on if when you can divorce your wife. Did God have said, all right, if this happens, then I will allow you to divorce your wife in the Old Testament? Like what stuff like that?
We talked about them in the past. Remember?
Which one are they?
I'm not. Well, that's actually no. I don't do that. I think one of them. Oh, better yet, I might have been reading this on myself. I forget. I think it's around Deuteronomy 18 cases. Let me try this. Let me write that in. Cases for divorce. They keep giving me Deuteronomy 24 and one reference to Deuteronomy 21, so I'm gonna look into this real quick.
Read it.
You read it. You're looking at the chapter right now. I'm trying to see if there's anything else. Or better yet, I just look up cases for divorce Old Testament. Old Testament. Verses.
We see a law in Deuteronomy that when a man fornicates with a woman and he's required to marry her, he says that he must not divorce her as long as he lives.
What verse?
Deuteronomy 22:19.
Oh, wow.
Something.
Wait. What's the reasoning behind it?
He fornicates with a woman. In exchange,
right. This is the right. I know what you're talking about because I just read this recently.
He must not divorce her as long as he lives.
Basically taking responsibility. And some people, and what's interesting is some people try to liken this to essentially the Bible. The Bible saying you must stay with your captor, right? Yeah, someone who rapes you. But the problem here is, I think at the top of this chapter, it actually talks about cases of divorce, or quite literally, you will die. But we ain't gonna go into that for this live stream. But just know that for future reference, write that down, or just have that in the back of your head somewhere. That if anyone comes to you about this, in this very chapter, it talks about basically a man being put to death, for messing with a damsel. I think it actually is right before this, if I'm not mistaken. Because how this chapter should be looked at least in the Hebrew text. You keep saying
No, keep going.
How this chapter should be looked at in the Hebrew text is basically a young couple basically fornicating, and it's like the Bible confirms you must now you must marry not he must take responsibility. You can't just f around and find out. No, you didn't found out. You gotta
You're cutting out again, Leo.
For y'all, I'm cutting out. For this live stream, I'm perfectly fine with my internet. Well, basically, what I'm saying is, these verses should be read as you must take responsibility, as because this is related to a young couple. because again, this is a man who findeth a virgin. So therefore, someone ready to be married, basically, you must now take responsibility. Where early on in this very chapter, it outlines how if there's any foul play, it can either lead to her and him dying, or specifically him dying. Most of the time, it's pretty much like 100% of the time you have to die if there's foul play as a man, but as a woman, it basically gives cases for if you have foul play, or if foul play was done to you, because it talks about the woman screaming, in which, like, if there was no one to protect her, that man, like, we go get vengeance. We go get vengeance for the rapist. We go kill him. But if essentially, her conscience was defiled as far as her falling in love with this foul act, then she will have to be put to death as well. Chapter 22 of Deuteronomy is wild. Like, the full chapter is basically the Bible's full response on rape and fornication.
Oh, I think I'm on to something, bro.
All right, Jaden, hurry up and cook. Hurry up and cook, cause in a minute, we go. It's literally 9:24.
That's what I was thinking.
Go ahead.
I'm making sure that everybody that I'm listening to and listening to their interpretations, I'm testing every spirit. I'm testing. So remember how we were talking about peace interpretation, that the putting away or the quote unquote divorce here is not it's not a legitimate divorce, and it's not because obviously it's not legitimate divorce because there's no bill of certification, whether or not there was fornication or sexual immorality. But then I'm thinking about it. I'm just thinking about how Jesus is phrasing it here, where he says, where he says, I tell you, if anyone, let's just go with Pete's interpretation, that when it says divorces is not an actual divorce. It's just more like kicking your wife out, like sending her away, but without an actual full release, right? With the certification. So let's just put that in place, and let's just look at how it sounds when Jesus says it. So if anyone puts away his wife, except for sexual immorality, makes her a victim of adultery, and anyone who marries her commits adultery. So just think about that first, and this is basically what I'm coming on to. If it takes, it says what throws us off is when it says except for sexual immorality. So even if even if a woman committed adultery against you, she's not automatically divorced from you. All right, you still have a choice if you want to divorce her. All right.
Yeah.
So just going with that, just to test Pete's interpretation of the quote unquote fake, not full divorce. If anyone puts away his wife except for sexual immorality, makes her a victim of adultery. So does that mean that if I put away my wife and she didn't commit adultery, or she did, let's just say if I put away my wife and she didn't commit adultery on me, and she goes and marries another person, she's still married to me either way. So it doesn't matter. So if his interpretation is a fake divorce, like it's not a full divorce, then it doesn't matter if Jesus says except for sexual immorality. Why would it matter? Because either way, she's still married to me. I haven't divorced her.
Bro, that's messed up.
I'm putting it into full picture now that's not making sense. So it doesn't matter. So I'm trying to so the interpretation that it's just a kind of kicking her out. If I kick her out and she didn't commit adultery, or like she did commit adultery on me.
Yes.
Do I? Ooh, actually, that brings a good point.
You talking more in your head than out of your mouth, Jaden. Hurry up.
Does
Trying to piece it together.
and I'll have to find this in the Old Testament. Is if your wife commits adultery on you, do you still have to write her a bill of? Wait, no, she would get stoned. Wait, no, yeah, that's what would happen. Yeah, she would just get stoned.
It's Deuteronomy. It's back in the Old Testament. In the Old Testament, that would happen.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
You know,
that's what I was saying to you earlier.
We should bring
back some in the Old Testament. So wonder why we don't find wonder why we're not going to find cases of like how this is carried out in the Old Testament, because there was no carrying out. She would just die.
Yeah, they stoned her.
You sound
her and the adult.
The way you sound so accomplished saying that she would just die. I'm like, dang, Jaden.
No, because that makes it more simple in my head. I'm kind of uncovering the freaking veil right now, man.
Mm-hmm.
So understanding that, except for adultery, then so that just takes that part out of the equation. About what I was trying to kind of like opening up another door to was maybe you didn't have to give her a certification of divorce if she committed adultery. You kind of just throw her out, but then that doesn't really make any sense because she would just die anyway. She's dead.
She's good.
So then that goes back to step one on the stairs is that.
Well, I mean, actually, hold on, pause that for a second, because that actually kind of coincides with what did Jesus say when your right hand sinneth against you, or your eye is sinning against you, you
cut it off.
You cut it off. Oh Lord. And they're one flesh. Like I guess there has to be cut. Well, she has to go, literally, off the face of the earth.
What about the man?
Oh no, no, you good. Nah, you good. Let me stop. Go ahead, Jaden.
Yeah, so that would be in the case for a woman. So in the Old Testament, for the adultery, it definitely would be if the man had, let's just say, 2 wives, and one of his wife committed adultery by sleeping with another man.
Mm-hmm.
That's adultery. That man and that wife would be put to death. If the man, that would be adultery. So that wife and whoever she slept with would be put to death, because that's adultery right there.
They both die.
Yeah, so it always involves a married woman. Adultery in the Old Testament always involves a married woman. So then we're trying to fit the puzzle here is that if Pete's interpretation of the fake divorce, like you're just sending her off, then what does it? If that's what it is, then what does it matter if it's the cause of fornication? If either way, she's still married to you. Either way, why does Jesus say, except for the cause of fornication? Because that would mean, if you send her off and she did commit adultery on you, you would still technically be married to her, right? So
no, because if she commits adultery, it's grounds to divorce, and if you remarry, you're good. And that woman doesn't belong to you anymore.
No, we're taking in the case of Pete's interpretation of divorce here. So to fill you in, Pete was saying that here, when the word divorce is being used here,
mm-hmm.
it's not the Greek word is put away,
mm-hmm.
and what that means is that, which means you're putting away your wife without giving it in paper a certification of divorce. Which means it's almost like you're married to this woman,
you're not
and you kind of just like you're kind of just kicking her out of your house. But like you're still married to this woman. Like just because you kicked her out of your house and put her in the streets doesn't mean you're no longer married to her. So that seems to be his interpretation. The reason why he, what's causing him, or why he concluded his interpretation, is for the fact that adultery is supposed to be between a married woman, and that the reason why it would be adultery in this case is because she's still married to you, she's in the streets, she marries another man, but she's still married to you because you never finalized the divorce. But then but then we have two problems here. Now I'm extrapolating two problems. Yeah, two problems now.
It's not even like that these days, guys. No woman gets kicked out on the street like that. Like, usually,
we're talking about biblically, though. We're talking about biblically.
Okay.
All right.
So the two.
I ain't going until 10 o'clock for this stream. Ugh.
So the two basically
up, bro.
the two conceding points for that position would be, first, in this case, the man also commits adultery. In this case, if he somehow commits adultery for divorce, for throwing the wife out without her committing sexuality, which, going by the definition of adultery, how is he committing adultery in this case? And then the second thing is the point. The second thing is, what is the point of Jesus saying, giving an exception for her committing a sexual immorality, if either way, when you kick her out, she's still married to you? So let me just think about that in my head while you guys talk real quick. Let me make sure I solve this. Make sure I'm not missing anything. I want to make sure that I'm fully competent in what I'm thinking.
All right, be quick, cause you got about 10 minutes, man. Cause we should definitely make this a two-parter. Or if we don't have all the factors, we'll make this a two-parter. Cause yeesh, I got a crick in my neck. I'm about to go to Chick-fil-A and go get me some chicken. Go to Walmart. See if I need to get some essentials. And after that,
you need to get it. Okay.
I mean, I was expecting this to be a long one, but golly, I was not ready. My neck is actually hurting. That's all right. We go push on through, cause this is good. This is basically us putting the pieces together, you know. So I'm gonna retitle this video to roughly biblical investigations, because we seem to be mostly like not necessarily uncovering truth, preaching and coming, and I guess we already have a conclusion. We're coming to conclusions with this video, like this long live stream. That's all right. But of course, like we were prepared for this. I mean, Jaden already said this is really this is gonna be an unconventional live stream, where it's like we're kind of figuring this out, which is great. It's great. What do you think, Vita? Are you ready to be one of many of Luke's wives?
To what?
Are you
ready to what?
Are you ready to be one of many to your husband's wives? Are you ready?
One of many? No. My husband is not interested in that anyway, thank God. He can barely handle one woman. You think he's gonna want 10? Please.
Well, I mean, y'all women are a handful. You're right about that.
What?
Right. Nothing. Don't worry about it, Vita.
I hope you guys can. If you want some, I hope you guys plan on having concubines. You know how to deal with these women, because women are not easy sometimes. Good luck. Okay. Good luck.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
Good luck pleasing 10 wives when you can barely please one.
I'm gonna. Yeah, y'all want everything these days. Y'all want basically Jesus himself, and it's like, nah, Chief, we were sent by Jesus. We're only Christians.
I've never met no Christian man that's actually had multiple wives, and if you guys want to be the first, go ahead.
I mean, I've heard Christians advocating for polygamy, but that's beside the point.
They advocate for it. They talk smack, but I've never seen anyone actually really go through doing it. Even Pastor David Lynn himself. You'll hear You'll hear him say this and that, but I don't think he'd actually do it.
I mean, well, granted, these are different, man. Because obviously, these are leaders. Like he's
I
a
think
leader.
it's nice to fantasize as a Christian
Oh
man
no,
about it someday or whatever.
fantasy. Because right now, we're just rightfully dividing. Is there biblical precedent? Like is there a precedent for it? Like meaning, is this unholy or a holy? And it seems to be.
What is the reason?
And it seems to be
What's the reason?
Oh, like
what's the reason?
The Old Testament. The Old Testament is basically basically has it as basically taking care of your quote unquote brother's household, basically making sure his affairs are ordered and making sure these women aren't left basically like
and good luck. You better those women better like each other, because that's another thing.
Well, granted, to
they
be
don't
fair,
like each other.
I mean, like in present day culture, we are leaning towards monogamy, which I think is good. I think because obviously this plays in the qualifications of a leader, and everyone should basically like lead by example.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it's like like monogamy, but at the same time, like this kind of reminds me of that one verse where one of the apostles said, "Pure religion undefiled." So pure religion, like meaning this is a pure intent. Is to visit the fatherless and the widows, basically tending to the community. So as far as that being the only reason, like I'd say like that, like if your heart's pure and then you basically rich enough to basically take care of a family and multiple people, just don't think you can basically have the qualifications of biblical leadership, because that's to set a particular example. You could do good, like this isn't evil to do, because obviously Deuteronomy wouldn't exist about taking care of your brother who has died at war or whatever. He's not in the picture anymore, but his household still requires a patriarch, right? A male figure in the household. His house needs to survive. As far as like when you read that, I think that is Deuteronomy. Yeah, that is Deuteronomy. That's the only reason. In present day, I don't think people are doing that for the right reason. But I could be wrong, because I only God seeth the hearts. Just don't be putting that in the church like God said I'm a qualified despite what the apostles said. Who told you this? Like that. Let's not play that game.
Don't play what game?
Basically transgressing the scriptures, where the apostles would set a standard, say like for biblical leadership, exclusively one a husband to one wife, and you trying to come on.
But that's actually we need to go on to actually.
I am not Jaden. We got about 5 minutes. We've been going for 3 hours. That
we gotta do part 2. All right, now that we've kind of uncovered,
you took so long coming to conclusions in the midst of talking to Pete, Jaden.
Part 2 is gonna be, can leaders in the New Testament, or the question is does Paul exclude polygamous relationships to be leaders in the church?
All right.
Find out in a city near you.
Tune in next time whenever we live stream. All right, Jaden. Have you been writing all this down as we've been talking?
I have it engraved in my memory.
All right. So what's the conclusions on polygamy so far?
That is righteous and holy, and I do honestly want to hop on, because honestly we could get with Paul stuff done in like literally 10 minutes, bro. Like that's actually a very easy one to go through real quick, so we don't have to like carry on with another video. So I think we can carry on with here. It's 9:41. I think we can carry this on till 10.
You've been good Lord, you've been taking all day. I'm literally trying to go to the store. I'm trying to get something to eat.
Yeah, 20 minutes. So real quick, I'll do a quick summary, and then here maybe we can do it for another video. But I'll just do like a quick summary like now on Paul's bishop and deacons and stuff. So real quick, so we see It's in First Timothy 3 and as well as First Corinthians, where Paul says, "Let every man have his own wife, and let every..." Oh no, but that doesn't. But see, Paul says the exact same thing. Matter of fact, I wonder if he said that for leaderships in that particular quote in particular.
Well, depending on how the English translates the Greek, as far as the consistent English translations I've seen, husband of one wife.
1 Corinthians 7. That is in 1 Corinthians. Okay, so so that when it comes to dealing with the leadership and stuff, in First Timothy chapter 3 verse 2, about the husband of one wife, the Greek word there, it can also be translated as first or a. So it's most, whether it's first or a, it's more likely and is a better translation to be first or a than one wife, because then Paul would literally just be discrediting everybody of old, leaders of Israel, from being a congregation of, from being an elder of a congregation. So Paul, being a Jew, would understand that and is not wouldn't be there to discredit them and disvalue that they're able to even lead a congregation. So it's the a better translation for that Greek word there used for one is first or a, and that same, for example, that same Greek word is used in the Gospels, in which it when this is the first day of the week. That same Greek word was used for when the Bible says the first day of the week. When the, what's her name, or was it the Sabbath or something? Or no, not the Sabbath.
His resurrection?
But yeah, it mentioned about the first day of the week. So that same Greek word is used to say first. So a better translation is first wife. So a elder of a congregation should be at least married to his first wife, so he's not divorced. So that's a good thing, because obviously hearing everything that Jesus has to say about divorce, it's not a good situation. So that's one qualification that we could have for a elder, is that if he's married, even if he had 2 or 3, is that he's married to his first wife, showing that he's still committed to his very first love. Or if it was translated as a wife, is that he's a married man, at least a married man. Shows that he's able to manage and manage his own household, in particularly. And then dealing with the other passage, not with bishops, but when Paul says, "Let every husband have his own wife, and every wife his own husband." The Greek word for both Greek words for own wife, and then own husband are actually 2 different Greek words. Paul uses 2 different Greek words for own. The first one, for let every husband have his own wife, is an exclusive ownership, and particularly for wife. So it's something that he would own exclusively to that woman. Now, the other own, for let every wife own her own husband, is actually a different Greek word. I think it's mios, where it's more of a corporate ownership. And it's the same type of own that we see in the Gospels, where the Bible says, and they went back to their own city.
Mm-hmm.
So notice how their own city. So everybody has, like, the city that you live in. Let's just say we both live in Orlando. It's my own city. It's also your own city. We both corporately, like, this is our city that we own, right? But we all own it. And to give you an example of this, Titus chapter 5 verse 9 talks about how tells servants to obey all the servants to obey their own masters. So notice how all the servants, many servants, one master, and it's still, the master is still referred to as their own, right? It's a corporate type of go. So wives. So a wife having her own husband can still that husband can still be shared. Can still have other wives. It's still considered owned because it's a corporate ownership.
When you said
right?
chicken bacon ranch and
It's shared. It's a shared ownership.
I'm not too sure because I'm looking at the blue letter,
yeah,
and
chicken
though the
bacon
root
ranch.
word
And then
is that
oh,
first
and you know
word.
I'll do turkey
Hold on,
bacon ranch.
mute yourself real quick, Vita. All right, but yeah, it's slightly different, like because there may be some sort of C on the end of that word. If you know what I'm talking about, like if you like, hold on, let me share my screen so I can show you what I'm talking about. Share your screen. Give me this.
Yeah, you see how both the word own for own husband and own wife
Here,
are two
come here.
different Greek words.
Well, it's not about the Greek. Hold on, let me show you. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay, the one what is this one? This is okay. So take this one, and I'm gonna like we should test this as far as every time it's used as first or one, but this is the first, and
Yeah.
this is how it looks. But when
Actually,
you
we're
go
gonna
into the
other
one
ones
on
about
First
so you can have some
Timothy,
around.
is there's a some sort of C thing on the end that means of one.
Yeah, click G, click
Oh, I got you.
that,
I clicked on it as well, and check this out. Hold on.
and then so
Notice
it's
this.
right there. Height.
But notice this
So
one.
there's go up, go up, go up.
Okay, I got you. I got
Yep.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm
All
saying.
right, that's the count.
It might be slightly different. What's up?
So right there is
It
the
looks the
count.
same actually.
So that
Pretty much the same.
same. So we see a count of that word is
Like
used
stores, different stores.
272 times,
Where?
Like
and then
in
you see a
here.
count of 9 times that word is used as a, other,
Yeah.
some, and I wonder where the first was not translated. See, go down a little bit.
See what I'm saying? Because the other one, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure if I click onto this one, it would immediately do the first thing. That's what I'm saying. It may slightly be different depending on like the letters of this word. Hold on. Let me see. Well, no, just give me the same actually for this one. Never mind. Scratch what I just said.
Where's
Yeah.
the founder? Like,
So I don't know.
Wait, what scripture is this? What scripture is this?
I'm comparing it. I haven't compared it to all of them, but I'm just comparing it from the
Yeah. So whatever location.
Vita mute. Hold on, let me mute Vita real quick because she ain't even here. I'm finna mute her real quick, just real quick.
All
You
right,
got
I'm gonna dig back because I saw Pete go into the Greek of this and showed how it was showed us first.
yeah.
So I'll go back into that, and then we'll go back into 1 Corinthians 7, and then we'll hash out back into the divorce thing when it comes to the certification.
All
All right,
right.
so we'll put a pause on this for now.
All right. All right. Oh my goodness. Woo! We have been at this. I mean, and this is what happens when you do some biblical investigations. I appreciate everyone who tuned into the stream. We went over a like polygamy, divorce, what is considered adultery, and of course, if I'm not mistaken, remarriage. Like what constitutes as a remarriage. This is all just the raw footage of us coming together. So I'm gonna rename the title of this video biblical investigation rather than uncovering we are uncovering truth of like the realness of the scriptures, but just to fire them off because this is only part one. If anything, we're gonna come back at this, probably gonna be shorter, but polygamy, don't demonize it because you're demonizing the church fathers and of course like the prophets. You're demonizing God's anointed. Divorce, yes, it could happen, but it should be done lawfully in accordance with the scriptures. What else? Adultery, be careful because like adultery can as Jesus described, as many already know, can play into one's heart as far as in his relationship. Outside of a relationship, lusting after a virgin. So if you're a single dude going like looking to get married, it is good that man should not live alone. And of course, remarriages, as long as they're done in accordance with the scriptures. So therefore, but like we're probably gonna condense this into a more formal video, just addressing the conclusions. So Jade, next time be prepared for that. Thank you all for joining into this stream. I appreciate y'all for the support. Thank you for the new subscribers. Appreciate y'all for joining in, looking at my shorts, tune in to see what the heck we're talking about. Forgive us if this wasn't a more organized video, but I mean, hey, it's good to see. It's good to see basically like we're weighing interpretations as far as what does the Greek say, what does the original translation say of the scriptures, just so we can properly format it in our English context in the present day of 2023. Because we don't want to sit up here and demonize the Lord, where it's like some men will say the Lord has one wife, but yet the scriptures say he has two, Israel and Judah. He distinguishes those two. We don't want to speak presumptuously as far as disqualifying the prophets who set the terms for where we abide in. But that's all I have to say. Anything you want to say before we close out, Jaden?
The converter out.
And I'll post a link to his channel, of course, like within the title of this video right after this is done. God bless and stay blessed. Stay inquisitive. Get in touch with God's word. Keep in prayer. Abstain from sin. Stay away from all forms of wickedness. Obey the Lord. And of course, if you haven't chosen this moment to believe on Jesus, salvation is always calling. Tomorrow isn't promised. Serve the Lord today while you are able. But if that's the case, with all that being said, you guys have a good afternoon. God bless.
This is what I call an actual Bible study.
Of course, this is great.
Instead of those Bible studies that you go to church and they're like, what's that Bible study? Let's read the book of John, chapter 3. Little Bible study here. I feel like when you're studying the scriptures for something specific, bro, dude, it actually gets interesting and deep, bro.
Yeah, that's right.
Like our next Bible study after we're done with these topics is gonna be we're heading deep dive into eschatology, bro. End times, rapture, tribulation, the coming of Christ, millennial kingdom, Antichrist, mark of the beast, bro. Like that is whoa. The horsemen, the prophecies, the beast, bro.
I'm gonna need to get a new chair for this. I ain't even. Good Lord have mercy, Jane. Oh my God, like I'm so stiff. And it's like we're only going for like 3 hours, but that's all right. That's all right. That was fun. This was fun. This is great. We do this more often.